Good morning to all. I'm Dr. Prasad Babu, Deputy Director, IGNOU Regional Center, Vijayawada. We have planned for the counseling schedule through online for the counseling psychology specialization, because very few number of students are there, and most of them are from away from the Vijayawada city. Because of that, we have not planned for the face-to-face counseling sessions. But clinical psychology, we have planned for the face-to-face program, and people are attending. But few people are away from Vijayawada; they are not attending. But theory counseling session is not a compulsory for attendance purpose. If you want to learn, you can learn for the face to face mode, because counseling psychology people are most of them are away from Vijayawada. Because of that, we have planned for the online counseling session. We have requested the Vimla ma'am to take the counseling session for the counseling psychology for three papers. Madam will cover within 3 to 4 hours. Just madam will give the brief idea. Anyhow, we have world recordings also. So Monday or Tuesday, world recordings counseling psychology, we will send to you all YouTube links. And these recording, this today recording also, we will send to you for those who have not joined, even the joined and not listened properly. So you can whenever you are free, you can listen, and you can gain the knowledge. This is from our side, and we have planned for the practical counseling session, practical paper on 13th of April. Already we have sent the schedule. Are you received the schedule mail?
Yes, sir. Yes, we
Okay.
received.
Yeah. So
Yes.
13th we have planned for the practical session. During that day, we will tell you another day which date we have to come again for the practical. So first we have planned for the one day on 13th. Next day we'll announce that day only. So attendance is compulsory. Without attendance for practical, you know that you are not eligible to write the practical examination, or you are not eligible to appear for the Viva OC. So please keep it in this mind and attend the practical class on 13th. Uh, Complete your record on time, and we will tell you the all the details regarding record on that day. So please attend the counseling session. And for examination fee, already link is open. Please pay the examination fee on or before this month end. So you have to pay exam fee for all the papers, theory, four papers, and one practical and one internship. You have to pay for six papers into 200 total. 1200. I think practical separately they are charging 500. So whatever amount it is displayed on the website, you have to pay for all the six papers. Don't, if you are not paying any paper, you are not allowed to write the practical exam or internship also. So you have to pay exam fee for internship also. I think nobody has taken the project. All are taken only MPC 46. So MPC 46 also, tomorrow we have class 3 to 5. Madam will take the 3 to 5. So online session only. So this is the information from our side, and madam will continue the session. If you have any doubts during the interaction, madam will give you the time. During that time, you can ask your questions and clarify your doubts. Once madam is announced, then only you can ask the questions. In between, don't ask. Even in between, madam will ask the any queries. You can respond, because if you are off the your camera, whom to ask madam. So if you on the camera, madam will ask you. Hmm? So madam already you know that already madam has taken the classes first year and practical sessions also. So thank you, ma'am, accepting our invitation today and tomorrow and Thursday also. So now we can continue, ma'am.
So good morning to everybody. So I think it is audible.
Yes,
Yes,
madam.
it is.
Yes, yes.
Yes, ma'am.
So we are going as it is being given by. Thank you very much, Prasad Babu Garu. And as it is given by Prasad Babu Garu, I am going to give you the gist of all the three papers under counseling. That is 21, 22, and 23. And I will tell you basically there are three things in all the three papers. The first paper, that is 21, is dealing with what is counseling and what are the processes of counseling and what are the different theoretical backgrounds for conducting counseling. This is the first paper. And the second paper deals with all the assessments while counseling and also ethics in the first paper. And the second paper deals with all the assessment techniques. What are the assessment techniques which you have to use while doing counseling? This is the second paper. And the third paper will give you all the interventions which you have to use. That means the techniques and intervention based on different theoretical backgrounds. So this is the entire picture of the counseling paper. But whenever we are having either it is a assessment or whether it is intervention or in the you will take you will come across with the theory, and based on the theory only we use assessment techniques and assessment interventions. Hence every time you will come across again and again the theoretical aspects of the counseling aspects, so that you have to keep it in your mind. And in fourth last 23 you will also you will know about what is the present status of counseling in India and what are the future opportunities which you are going to get in counseling area. So all this is the total gist of the three papers which I'm going to discuss. Basically, you have to understand what is counseling, what are the characteristics of counseling, what are the theoretical background, and what are the techniques, assessment procedures, and also what is the future of counseling in India and in future by using digital technologies. This is the has become more uh, popular nowadays, using digital technologies for counseling. So you can develop your own apps or methods of counseling, and you can do that. So we
మేడం
come across.
ఎక్స్క్యూజ్ మీ
Yes.
మేడం వినిపించట్లేదు మేడం.
వినిపించట్లేదా? Why this
మా
one?
అందరికి వినిపిస్తోంది.
ఏమా?
మా అందరికి వినిపిస్తోంది మేడం.
ఆడిబుల్ మేడం వినిపిస్తుంది మాకు కూడా.
I think the problem is with you. You just correct yourself. Okay? Is it audible to you all? Others?
Yes, it
Yes,
is.
ma'am.
ఆడిబుల్ మ్యామ్, ఆడిబుల్ మేడం.
Okay. Okay. ఎందుకంటే వినిపించకపోతే చెప్పండి అమ్మా. ఎందుకంటే
Good.
I'm giving you only the gist. If you remember the gist, basically, if you understand the theoretical background and what is exactly the concepts about counseling, then you can write this paper easily. So whenever it comes many times regarding the theoretical background, that is why most of the students will get confused. They will write psychoanalytical technique in the first paper, second paper, and third paper too. Similarly, cognitive techniques in all the three papers. So all the things are being, you feel as though it is repeated, but how these theories are used in assessment and how these theories are used in intervention and what are the exact theories in the first paper you will go through. Hence, you have to learn carefully about the basic concepts of theories of this. We are going to discuss in the paper number paper MPCE 21. So, as you, all of you know, there is a great need. What is the need of counseling? There is a great need of counseling nowadays because of the complexity of the society and continuously rapidly changing social conditions. And the changes are so rapid we are not able to adapt, and the emergence of new techniques after COVID, there are new fields are emerging, new techniques are emerging, new ways of processing are emerging in every field of knowledge, every field of service, everywhere. Hence there is a need for guidance and counseling services for all the people, for all the people. At the outset, even though we are using guidance and counseling as one term, there is a bit difference between guidance and counseling, which you have to understand first. Guidance is a process which is used for orientation, for development and growth of an individual. For development, orientation and growth of individual. Hence, it is used and guidance is required for all the persons in all people and at every stage of life. Guidance is needed for a elementary school child, high school child, adult, middle age, elderly people, and at all stages. Guidance is needed to adapt ourselves and to orient ourselves towards growth and towards development. The guidance is needed. It is a helping service, which is which consists of lot of information, and it is a continuous process. Guidance is a continuous process, whereas and it is needed to all and a continuous process. So it is a positive program. Don't think that guidance is a negative thing. It is a positive program and everybody needs that. Coming to the counseling, when you are growing up, when you are developing, when you are adapting yourself, some problems may arise to you in the adaptation, in the adjustment, or in adaptation to the new situations, or because of some of the personal problems you may not be to adapt. So in this, when you are having a problem of adjustment, a challenges of adjustment, it you when you approach a counsel, it is called as counseling. Counseling is only when you are having a problem, and guidance is for all. Counseling is not for all. If you are able to adapt yourself, no problem, no counseling. If you are not able, with the guidance given, if you are able to adapt and adjust and use your potentialities for your growth, no problem. If you are not able to adapt, then if you have a problem because of so many personal factors or environmental factors or the situation, then you need counseling. But remember, this is the difference. Both are only helping services. Whereas in guidance, you will give lot of information is being given. Career guidance, you give lot of information to the people, to the people. So whereas coming to the counseling, when you have a problem, you approach a counselor. Okay. So, but while you are while you are counseling a person, that is when you are trying to uh, trying to help the person to resolve his problem, then we will do some guidance too. And while doing guidance to all the people, some people needs counseling. So for them, we do counseling. So guidance and counseling activities go together. We can't separate them. In during guidance process, then some people may get some problems, and then we will do counseling. And while counseling, there is a need for guidance too. So both the activities are interlinked and they go together. But guidance is for all, counseling is for the person who are having some certain challenges, certain challenges. So this is it is remedial, whereas guidance is a positive program, counseling is a remedial program. So that is the difference. Guidance is a positive program for growth and development, whereas guidance is a remedial program for helping for solving their problems by themselves. And coming to third thing is, this is the third word you will come across is psychotherapies. So when the severity of the problem or the challenge is high, that is when the problem is very severe, then you go for psychotherapy. The problem is severe. If it is mild, counseling is enough. If the problem severity is more, then you go for psychotherapy, where you use therapeutic techniques. Therapeutic techniques. And one more thing you have to remember, for all the psychological problems, there are three reasons exist: biological reasons, psychological reasons, and social reasons. Hence, if it is psychological reasons or social reasons, guidance and counseling helps. If it is a biological reasons, that person should be referred to a psychiatrist who is a doctor basically. You have to send a psychiatrist. All the challenges cannot be solved by a counselor if the reason is biological. The reason is biological, we have to refer to a psychiatrist. That is the limitations of guidance and counseling. Then it is a helping service only. That is a helping service only. So this is about guidance, counseling, and psychotherapy. Then you will come across what are the characteristics of an effective counselor. You want to become an effective counselor. What is the important characteristic which you should have? You should have an understanding about your self-awareness. You have a clear understanding of what you are, what are your characteristics, what are your orientation, what are the adjustment methods you are using. You should have total awareness about yourself. That is important. And you should have also an understanding of, awareness of the impact of oneself on others. What is the impact of you on others? Because you are doing counseling. What is your impact on others? So if I talk like this, what is its impact on others? You should fully aware of that, and you have to do it in a objective manner. That means in an objective manner means that what you have to do is your subjective feelings, subjective experiences should not interfere while doing counseling. You have to look at the counselor in an objective manner and you have to counsel the person. So, in this process, so understanding self awareness and you are aware about the impact of your words or your advice on others. This is one important thing. Then this is one character you should develop if you want to become a counselor. Second thing is listening skills are most important. You have to develop the listening skill. Less you talk and more you listen. This is the thing. And you should have an effective communication. Effective communication, and you should be able to make and understanding effective communication as well as communication means verbal and non-verbal, and similarly you should be able to understand the communication of other person, both verbal and non-verbal. So this is important. I'm not going in detail about how to develop communication skills, all the things. So you should have a listening communication, effective communication, and understanding of the communication of the client. And also you should have two types of skills. Okay, one is negotiation skill. You should be able to negotiate. Number two, you should be able to problem solving skills. You should have, if the purchase, if the client is having some problem, you should be able to solve their problem. You should help them to solve their problem. Unless you know the solution, you cannot help them to solve the problem by themselves. Hence, you should have the problem solving skills too. Along with this, you should have assertiveness. You should be able to able to communicate your feelings truthfully. Assertiveness. Honestly, you should be able to express your feelings, and you should be firm in certain ways. And this is expressing our feelings honestly. And then be empathetic. Be empathetic. Empathetic means you should be able to understand the feelings of the client without they expressing. That means if you understand their non-verbal feelings and emotional feelings, you should be able to understanding empathetically without their communication. You should be able to understand their feelings, whether they are in a depressed mood or whether they are in an aggressive mood or that. Then confidentiality is very, very important thing. You should not reveal the problems of anybody to other person, including their family members or with your friends. You are not supposed to discuss any of the psychological problems with anybody. Confidentiality is the most. You have to, yes, unless you establish confidentiality, nobody will reveal their problems. Hence, confidentiality is the important trick. So these are the characters you have to develop. You should be really, you should be able, if you understand this, you should be able to ask the appropriate questions while doing counseling. So this is in India, these are the characters. In India, till now, there is no regular counseling for guidance and counseling professionals. The counseling, the what is that, licensing is being given only to the by RCI, Rehabilitation Council of India, that is for disability counseling. That rehabilitation council is established for rehabilitation of the disabled person, and there is licensing for disability counseling. That is mental retardation or physical disability or whatever disability they are having. If you want to counsel the disability people, you need licensing, which is being given by RCI. And all the clinical psychologists are those that, that licensing is being given by clinical psychologists by RCA for counseling the disabled people. So for otherwise guidance and counseling, there is no licensing is needed for guidance and counseling. But if you want to guide and counsel a disabled person, then it needs uh, licensing from the, till now there is no uh, proper licensing procedures for guidance and counseling services. This is about the basics of what counseling is. Coming to the what is the counseling process. So this you should be thorough all through. You have to repeat it and repeat it. This is very, very important. What is the process of counseling? The very first stage, we call the person who approaches us for help. It is only the helping service. We are only helping the client. We are not giving the solutions to their problems. We are not solving their problems. We are giving only a counseling, only we are, it is an helping service. It is not advising. It is a helping service. We help them to solve their problems by themselves. Here, the first step is when a person, that is the client, approaches you, the first step is you will take the biodata of the person, background information about the person. This is the first step. You have to take the background information. What is he doing? What is his educational qualification? Whether he is married or not? What is his background? All this information we will take. And after that, the second step is how to take background information. There is in our unit, another unit. And the second step is you will develop rapport with the client. Rapport building means the client should be at ease with you. You will have good relationship between client and the counselor. For that, you have to do some procedures for relationship building. Unless they are confident and they had certain relationship with you, they don't reveal their uh, challenges. So the physical challenges are different and psychological challenges are different. They don't want to reveal their challenges unless they feel confident. They develop confidence in you. They had good uh, relationship with you. For that, to develop the relationship, you have to rapport building is the first activity where you will learn some of the questions, personal information, his interest, his strength, and all these things, which makes you confident, which develops confidence on you. So the relationship building is the most important thing. Unless there is a good rapport and confidence on you, they don't reveal anything to you. They don't do, they don't follow your help too. So the success of your counseling depends upon the first step of developing rapport building is the first step. After developing your rapport, the next step is you will come across with the problem. So then after some easiness between the client and the counselor, then you will ask you about what is his exact problem. Then he will tell you in a sentence or two. So what you have to do, you have to ask them, make the client to describe the problems in detail by asking facilitating questions so that the client as well as you can understand the problem. So mostly they will say a statement, this is my problem. I am not able to sleep. I'm not able to concentrate in the class. I'm not able to reduce my anger. These are the problems I will say in a statement. Then I will ask so many questions. The counselor asks, just like a doctor, we will ask so many questions. What are the situations where you become and you are becoming angry. How many times? So many questions we'll ask. Facilitating questions only. That is the intelligence of the counselor. So the facilitating questions will help the client to understand himself. And the counselor will also have a greater clarity about the problem. So they will ask so many questions. They will ask so many questions. So, so that they will have a clarity about the problem. The client will have the clarity, and also the counselor can develop the case formation. He can make a case formation. So this is the third step. After developing the case formation, the next step is you will ask the client to what do you exactly want? What is your goal? What do you want to have? Most of the time, the client do not know. They will always narrate the problem, what they want, what is the solution they want for that. That is, they are not clear. So if they say that some other person changes or some other situation changes, my challenge will be resolved. Is it possible? Not possible. So you have to set the goal. You have to make the person to understand the reality and how he can help himself, how he can help himself, and what he exactly wants to set the appropriate goal. The counselor helps to set the appropriate goal. This is the thing I want. I am not able to concentrate now in the class. I want to concentrate in the class. What are the actions I have to take? I'm getting anger in regularly. What are the steps I have to take? So, for this is the goal. I want to reduce my anger. I want to increase my concentration in the class. I want to get more marks is not a goal. Now I am getting 40 marks. I should get 80 marks is the goal. So always the goal you should make a smart goal. Specifically measurable, realistic, and achievable goal. You have to help the client to set the goal. Both client and counselor together has to help to set the goal. This is the major thing. Setting goal. After setting the goal, how do you implement it? What is the action plan you have to do to implement to reach the goal? So I have to do something. Without doing anything, nothing will happen. Nothing will come to you. So what is the action plan I have to do? So then the client and counselor sit together and they will make the action plan 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 steps. So this is the action plan I have to follow. This you can say that intervention or activity. This is called as intervention. What you have to do. This is called intervention. So the counselor and the client together, they will make an intervention. Or action plan is common term. Intervention is the psychological. So after developing this intervention, we will ask them to practice it for 2, 3 days or 4 days. After that, he will comes back and we will evaluate that whether it is possible to follow it, what are the obstacles, what are the hurdles they are getting while implementing that. All this you will know. Then next step is what you will do. The next step is you will either further counseling is needed. You will do some more counseling and change the action plan, and we will alter the action plan. So this is, and we will terminate the counseling process. So this is the total counseling process. Among all this, the relationship building is the most important. These are the steps. One is rapport building. Rapport building. Second thing is uh, after that, identifying the problem. Case formation. That means you have to you have to make the person to describe the problem, and you will make a case, and then setting goals, then identifying the action procedure for achieving the goals or intervention, and then evaluation. They will come across and evaluate your action plan, and then if further counseling is needed, you will do that and give another action plan, another intervention if it is not working well, and then finally you will terminate the counseling process. So in this process, what you should be careful is about relationship building. That is, in rapport building, you should have only to develop the case, only you have to develop the relationships. The relationships exist only during the process of counseling. After the termination of counseling, you should terminate the relationship too. These are not permanent relationships. This is one thing. And you have to look at the client with regard, respect, and considering client as a worthy person. Client is also a worthy person. Because of some of the blocks, he is not able to solve his problems, hence you are helping. Treat your client with respect. This is the most important thing. So this is the entire counseling process. So this is the counseling process. These are the counseling characteristics, and this is the counseling process you have to follow. Whatever is the method, whatever is the theoretical approach, you have to follow these steps for counseling. Coming to the next aspect of that, now these all the theoreticals. What are the theoretical processes? What are the theories which are being used in counseling behind counseling? The first theory which you will come across, we will come across in detail about one by one theories. Keep these theories in mind, and there are certain big techniques are being used in each theory, which you will come across in interventions and assessment too. So all these theories are repeated again and again and again in all the volumes and all the sections. So hence you should be thorough. You should have a thorough understanding of what the theoretical procedure is. The first theory is about Freud's theory. Freud's theory. So in this is as you might be knowing it in the first year too, but I will make a simpler form of that. This is Freud's theory is called as a psychoanalytical theory. You all of you know, that's why I am going it in a, what are the basic components of psychoanalytical theory of Freud, and what are the important things and what are the things which he used for counseling. Coming to the first aspect, what are the concepts of uh, concepts in the psychoanalytical theory? How many, whenever you have an opportunity, listen to that, study to that, these theories will help you throughout your counseling process. The first theory is psychoanalytical theory, which was being developed by Freud. In this, the basic concepts. This is not an empirical theory, means not an experimental theory. It is being given by logic and his personal experiences and by intuition, I can say that. But it is being followed by all of us by many years, but very recently, because there is no experimentation, we are not accepting the theory, but still we are using the techniques given by Freud for counseling too, even today. So let us understand what are the psychological concepts he has given. The first thing is id, ego, and superego. This is the first construct given by Freud. Id is the desire. It works on wishing nature of the individual. He said he called it as a, it is a term, it is a German term, which means, which has no meaning in English. So id means desire or wishing nature of the individual. So it works on whatever there is a need, whether it is a physical need, psychological need, or social need, I desire to fulfill the need. This is the nature of id. This is the nature of it. It always wants to fulfill his needs. It always wants to fulfill his needs. So this is about id, uh, and desire, desiring nature, physical, psychological, or social needs. It focuses and it wants to fulfill those needs. The second aspect, what it works on hedonistic principle, happiness principle, desire, fulfillment. The second thing is ego, which works on reality principle, So that means whenever the id wishes something, ego wants to fulfill its desire in a realistic in reality, it wants to fulfill its desire. It wants to fulfill its desire in reality. It works on reality principle. Whatever the desire it expresses, it wishes to fulfill. The ego tries to fulfill those desires in reality. And the third thing is about superego, which works on moral principle. It is a master of this id and id. It is a master of id and ego. It works on moral principle. Whether the desire is social, is as per the social norms are acceptable or not, and whether the procedures the ego is following is or as per the social norms or not, all these are being uh, supervised by superego, and it tries to control both id and ego, and all the three, id, ego and superego, they work coordinatedly for getting a normal behavior of individuals. So all the three works coordinatedly. Id, the desire, ego, the reality, and the superego, the moral, which works on moral principle, which makes it. I'll tell you one small example also. The child, if the id develops from the birth onwards. Whatever the biological needs it want to fulfill. That's all. And the ego works on reality principle. And so at birth, there is no ego. Ego develops later on by 1 year or 8 months or 1 year, ego develops, and superego develops last. So during the process of socialization. So I'll tell you a small example of a child, an infant at birth, whenever the traveling in a child, train or traveling in a flight, when it is in a train you are traveling and the child is hungry at 12 o'clock, midnight 12 o'clock, it wants some milk and it cries. Whatever you says, it won't understand and it goes on crying till it gets its. That means it cannot have the reality principle. It was not developed. Ego is not developed. Only it is present. That's why it used to cry all through. Let us imagine the same child at 8 months or 9 months, 1 year, 1 year. Then when you are traveling in the same train and the child is hungry at midnight, 12 o'clock, and you say that you are in the train and you don't have milk and you have to next stop, you will have some milk, wait for that. The child is able to understand the reality. So then he postpones his desire and he understands the reality. So the reality ego develops at 8 years, 8 months or 9 months or 1 year. We can't say that there's a fixed time. And there is also superego. So whenever you see the same child growing up and it becomes 2 years or 3 years, when he sits by the side, by our side, it just pulls our bag or pulls our sari or whatever it is. Then her mother or somebody who is taking care of says that it is not good, it is there, so you should not touch other things. Like that, we develop the moral sense, what to do and what not to do. So the moral principles develops by observation as well as by complete education through punishment from the parents. So id, ego, and superego, three develops and they work coordinatedly. The person's behavior is normal. So all of us know we study behavior of the individual. Suppose if the id is very strong among this is a disorder. If the id is very strong, what happens? It goes on desiring, wishing, nurturing. One after the other, the individual start desiring. And in reality, nothing will, it cannot be fulfilled for anybody, all their desires. When you are not able to fulfill our desires, it leads to frustration. And frustration leads to so many psychological disorders. So frustration, dissatisfaction, which leads to so many psychological disorders. So if it is very strong, this is the thing what the individual experiences. He develops psychological disorders, mental disorders. Then coming to this, if the ego is very strong, what happens? ego is very strong. Whatever the it desires, it wants to fulfill it. It won't bother about the superego is weak. It is strong, and ego is very strong, and it wants to fulfill its desire. So there are certain people we can understand. They don't bother about the means. They want to get it done. If I want this, I want to get it done. What a means, I'm not bothered because I want to get 100 marks. I want to get 100 marks. I want to get 100 crores of money. I will get them by hook or crook. So this is when ego is strong. It doesn't follow the means. It want to try to fulfill ego. So when ego is strong, the persons will develop antisocial personality. They don't bother about the rules and regulations or moral values existing in the society, and they don't bother about the rights of other persons too. So this happens. You will see such type of people in the society whose reality sense ego is very strong. There are people who are having strong ego. There are people who are having strong ego, and there are also people who are having strong super ego. Where what they do is whenever they want to do something, they think about many other possibilities. Am I doing anything wrong against to the social norm or hurting anybody like that? They always feel about the righteousness, 100% righteous of their behavior. In this process, they will put one step forward and two steps backward. So these type of people, they develop, and also they feel guilty about the things, whatever they do. So the guilty consciousness leads to many of the psychological disorders. Guilt is the main reason. So they used to feel that I did something wrong. I did something wrong. It is affecting my behavior. This is the uh, concept the individual develops, and he used to feel they develop guilty conscious is one of the important factor which is responsible for many of the psychotic disorders, big psychological disorders too. They develop depression, they develop anxiety, and psychotic disorders too. So this is the first concept given by the coordination of these three gives normal behavior, and strength of any one of these, if any one of them becomes strong, you can see the society, you can see an individual with these characters, which it develops mental disorders. Then coming to the second concept given is a psychosexual development. As all of you might be knowing, oral stage, anal stage, phallic stage. Like that, he has given different stages of development. Each stage is associated with one of the body organs. That means, suppose, for example, anal stage. Anal stage is the stage infant. For infants, it is up to 2 years, and during that period, mouth is the organ which is the most, uh, which is the organ which gives us more satisfaction. And what he says is the security feelings and all these are being developed during the feeding process of feeding during the early months. Security feelings are being developed. So the warmth of the mother's lap and all this creates the touch of the mother gives lot of security feelings. So if they are deprived of all this, we don't know whether they are deprived or not. We don't know. If they are deprived of this, it has an impact on their future personality traits. If they are deprived of that and the early stages, they may develop certain what I can say that certain characters like uh, over talking or overeating, like that he has given some of the things. So if you are deprived of some of the things during infancy, it has an impact on their future personality development. Similarly, anal behavior. Anal behavior is between 4 or 5 years, where the toilet training is important. If the mother is very, very strict, if the parents are very strict regarding their toilet training, it may develop to so many biological disorders like digestive problems, and sometimes in their personality to hesitation. All these are some of the characters which they develop when the toilet training. So as per a Freud, every stage of childhood is very important, and the child is deprived of the particular thing which is needed during that period. It has an impact on their future personality. So it's like that, he has given bodily changes, social training, and the impact on the psyche and future personality traits. Like that, he has explained all the psychosexual stages of development. I'm not giving all the details. You all of you know, you studied all this, the oral stage, anal stage, phallic stage. All this has an impact on the future personality traits. This is the concept of Freud. Then coming to the third thing, what he has used is the concepts of defense mechanisms. Concept of defense mechanisms. Knowing the concept of defense mechanism, these are called as ego defense mechanisms. Ego defense mechanisms. So, what his basic assumption is, every behavior is goal directed. Every behavior of a normal person, whether whatever is the behavior, the goal may be immediate goal or maybe a long-term goal. Whatever is that, without goal, we don't behave. Normal person won't behave. So, when goal is reached, nothing will happen. If we are not able to reach the goal due to several reasons, we will get frustrated. If we are not able to reach the goal due to many of the maybe environmental situations, maybe deficiencies, maybe some of the other factors, relationships, whatever is that, if you are not able to reach your goal, it creates a lot of frustration. Frustration means it tilts the balance of the psyche. Psych balance will be tilted because of this frustration. Again, we want to regain the balance. For regaining the balance, unconsciously we use certain mechanisms. These mechanisms are called as defense mechanisms. I think you are clear what is ego defense mechanisms means. Our every behavior, every individual has a goal directed behavior. Due to some of the reasons, we are not able to reach the goal, and the balance, psychological balance tilts, and because of the natural process, we want to regain the balance again, because the tilting of balance is psychologically not a comfortable, not a homeostatic condition. We want to regain the homeostatic condition. For regaining the homeostatic condition, we use certain mechanisms. Unconsciously, this is most important. Unconsciously, we use these mechanisms. Those are called as defense mechanisms. So, if you use them consciously, they are not called as defenses. So, without knowledge, we use those mechanisms. When I failed to get a seat in medicine, I used to say, this is definitely I worked hard and I didn't get a seat in medicine. Then when I didn't, it definitely hurts me and my frustrate me, and I loses my balance. Again, to regain the balance, what I used to tell them and feel is that this is only for my good. I didn't get the seat. If I get the seat, I have to work for 10 years. Even after that, the life is full of struggle, and we have to work all through the day. We don't have time to enjoy and all the things. Hence, the best way is not getting the seat. So I'm rationalizing the failure. I'm rationalizing my failure. Sometimes I will use logical reasoning uh, for explaining for supporting my failure. Like that, I use so many mechanisms to regain my balance. Sometimes displacement. So if I heard somewhere in the office because of boss or something, I used to scold one of the family members, so that again I will regain the balance. Displaced aggression. Aggression I cannot show in the office, but I showed it in the family, and then by that I am balancing. Unconsciously, we will do all this. Back of the thing. Why we will ask, the children also are very aggressive at home. As if the teacher says something or teacher hurts the child, then they come to home and they used to be very aggressive for nothing, and especially on mother. Why? Because there is an they have to regain the balance. What they cannot say at that place, but they will explain it here and they try to regain the balance. So this is about the defense mechanism. The Freud has given 10 defense mechanisms like this: fantasy, rationalization, displacement, reason. What is that? Displacement, like that. He has given 10 defense mechanism. All these are used unconsciously without our knowledge. If we use it with consciously, it won't work at all. It won't work. It won't help to regain our balance. If excess use of defense mechanisms leads to psychological disorders. So this is other thing which was given by Freud, and he has given some of the techniques. This is his theory. Based on this, human behavior occurs. And the third important aspect, as explained, is about the consciousness. He has developed the states of consciousness into three levels: conscious, subconscious, and unconscious. Conscious is what we are completely aware of. That subconscious is the state of our awareness. This is all state of our awareness. Totally, the whatever we are completely aware of, that is conscious. The subconscious is we are aware of that, but with little provocation or little help, I'm not able to. I'm able to recollect it. That is called as subconscious. With some triggers, I can recollect the experiences in my past. That is the subconscious, which are in subconscious. Third thing is unconscious, on which the Freud has given lot of impact, lot of importance, and all his theories, all his counseling, behavioral technique, all these are based on unconscious only. He said, unconscious, what you contain in your unconscious, we don't know. The individual himself do not know. What are there in our unconscious are, he said, every behavior of the individual is registered in our mind, in our brain. Every experience is registered. But we are not able to, of the childhood, whatever experience you are having in childhood, so he has given lot of importance to childhood. So the experiences are, sometimes we will have an experiences of so many painful experiences we used to get. If the experience is very painful, what you say is, you will just, experience is very painful, you want to, without your knowledge. So when experience is painful, naturally you want to come out of it. So unconsciously what we do is, because it is so painful, we'll send it to unconscious, where we don't know what is there in our unconscious. You will come out of the pain. You will come out of the pain. So the unconscious consists of all our painful experiences from childhood onwards. Wherever you are hurt, you felt very painful. Very painful experiences we don't remember at all, because they are upsetting our psyche. Hence, we unconsciously we are sending it. That is like an immune system in the body. Thus, in our psyche also there is immune system which is sending everything to unconscious, which are very painful. So all these painful experiences will be there. Along with this, there are the thoughts related to sex and aggression. The thoughts related to sex and aggression will also be sent to, because their sex, he said, sex and aggression are two important motives which govern the entire life of the individual. So that is his concept. So because on these two, there are lot of social control on expression of sex and expression of aggression. Hence, if you are having that feeling, you don't express them and they are still they exist because you consciously you feel that those are the things which I should not do. Like these are the wrong concepts and wrong thoughts. Then hence they are painful. So we send them to unconscious. So the unconscious consists of our thoughts related to sex which are against to social norms. Not all. The thoughts related to sex which are against to social norms. The thoughts related to aggression which are against to social norms. And all my painful experiences. We send unconsciously, without my knowledge, I send it to my unconscious. Hence, I don't know what is there in my unconscious. These, whatever there in the unconscious, they want to come up to the conscious level whenever we are not alert. That means while you are sleeping, they come in the shape of dreams. Sometimes some people used to cry in their dreams too because they are getting they experience certain painful experiences they will experience in their dreams. They will afraid, they will shout. All these are the unconscious experiences. So he focused on that and he said some of the experience is still very painful. They will come into your dreams in a disguised form. Hence, if you, as per Freud, if you are able to know the person's client's unconscious, we can find out the reasons for the present mental disorder. For the present mental disorder, if you want to understand their unconscious. So, how do you understand our unconscious? Yes. And dream analysis is one of the methods of knowing our unconscious. Free association, he has used certain techniques to know our unconscious because we also experience, we will have sadness and excitement. Sadness many of the times without reason. We feel very anxious without, sometimes we don't know the exact reason why we are getting anxious. We don't know. So all this happens because of our unconscious thoughts. So for Freud, if you reveal our unconscious, you are able to bring the unconscious to the unconscious and understand the unconscious of a person, then you can counsel the person. This is the thoughts of Freud. So this is about Freud, and he used certain techniques like pre-association, dream analysis, sentence completion test, projective test. All this he used to find our unconscious. These unconscious will help us. These unconscious helps us to understand the problem of the client, and as per that you can counsel the client. So this is all about Freud. These things you have to remember forever. For him, unconscious is important. So imbalancing of non-coordination of ego and superego is responsible for problems, and unconscious is responsible for our problems. Psychosexual fixations are responsible for our present problems, and also overuse of defense mechanisms are also responsible for our present problems. Hence, you can to find out as per Freud's view, you have to find out the reason from unconscious, understanding all these things. So this is about Freud. Many of this, even though we don't accept his theory, we use pre-association test, projective test, sentence completion test. All the tests and analytical procedures provided by Freud are being used in our counseling process. So this is about first approach on Freud. Then coming to the second approach, it was given in this is Roger's approach. Second approach given in your. I'm going as per your manual booklet. So the second approach given by them is second approach given here in your manual is Roger's approach. Roger is a humanistic psychologist. His basic concept is people are having the abilities, and people have the capacity to solve their problems and to adjust themselves to the changing situations. But and self-actualization is the goal of, and everybody works towards self-actualization. But people are very rational. People are moving realistically. So he has a most positive humanistic approach. This is called as humanistic approach, where he respects the human beings. They are having the abilities, they are having the rationale, and they are moving towards growth and moving towards self-actualization. But because of some of the negative and antisocial emotions, negative and antisocial emotions are the um, when the individual experiences some frustrations of basic conflict, some frustrations and of basic impulses are frustrated. In this process, they will develop some negativity and antisocial emotions. So why they are getting this is because they are being frustrated basically by the environment or by the situation. They are losing their rationality. They are not able to use their capacity, and they will get a temporary blocks in their thought process and temporary block in their problem solving abilities, temporary blocks in their reasoning and rational thinking. So the counselor's role is to make the people, to motivate the people, to self-aware the people regarding their capacities, and also to develop, make them to develop a willingness towards continuous growth. So some people, after getting some problem, they used to say, nothing is there in the world. I will stop whatever I do. I will get only negative results. So the role of the counselor is to motivate them for the continuous growth. The individual has to work on for the growth, irrespective of the failures, irrespective of the frustrations they experience. This is the basic goal of counseling. So many frustrations occurs, so many crisis situations occurs. We should not stop. We should always work towards self-actualization. So we should not stop here. So for that, the counselor make them to recollect about their strengths, about their abilities, capacities, and try to remove the blocks in their thought process and motivate them towards growth. So this is the basic role of humanistic psychologist, Roger. Roger is one of the humanistic psychologists. This is the assumption of humanistic psychologists. So with this, how do you get, you should not undermine the people. So for this, what techniques he used is, if you respect the person, respect the client, unconditional positive regard is the word used by humanistic psychologists. Unconditional positive regard towards a person. Unconditional, always you think about the positive regard towards the person, and be empathetic. Try to understand the feelings of other person. Empathetic and understand, and counselors should be empathetic and genuine, transparent, and truthful towards the needs of the other person. So it should be, the counselor should have an understanding. You should not undermine the client. You should respect the client. You should strengthen the client and make them, and empathetically make them to understand their problem and go forward. So this is about This is about the Rogers. So what is the techniques you use? You respect them. You try to clarify by asking some of the questions. You try to remove the blocks in their thought process. Remove the blocks in their reasoning. Remove the blocks in their abilities and in their capacities by asking facilitating questions. So this is about Rogers' approach. Then coming to the Gestalt approach. Gestalt means this is a word. This is not the name of the scientist. Most of the students think Gestalt is the name of the scientist. No, it means whole, total, which means whole, total. So as per his assumption is uh, each person tries to bring his self to make his self into healthy, unified whole. Every individual tries to make his a person always tries to uh, to make his self into healthy unified one, healthy and unified one. Every time we tries to be like one, but over dependence on some of our abilities, suppose over dependence on our intellectual experiences and over dependence on some of the things which makes us inability to resolve our problems, to resolve our causes of our problems because of the over dependence on some of the abilities. Suppose some persons are very academic, intellectually they are great, they are focusing, you are a unified one as a whole. If you are having all the abilities in a unified fashion, then you will be healthy. What happens is we are focusing more on one of the abilities, just like this at present generation. We are who are focusing more on academic skills. What is happening? The other things having some deficiencies because they are focusing only one thing. It is not whole. Whole is important. If you develop whole, you will become a healthy person, healthy individual, because Gestalt psychology says because you are not focusing on the entire thing, focusing on certain of the abilities, certain of the thing, intellectual abilities, some are social abilities, some on other things. So you are getting a cause in the particular area which has become a causative factor for our problems. Suppose I am, for example, I will tell you, the particular individual is focusing on academics only all through until student life. The academics are very important. So he is focusing intellectually, he is developing his intellect, he is getting good mark, he is being appreciated. So his focus is only on intellectual abilities. After this is only for certain time. After completing the academics, nobody bothers about your marks. Your behavior is important. Your social behavior is important. Then he is getting problems in social behavior. The reason is he has not focused on the whole integrated, healthy whole of the unified self. So this is what Gestalt says. So the what is the goal of this Gestalt psychologist is creating awareness, knowing they have to know the environment, know the self, self-accepting oneself, and also being able to make contacts with others. All these are important. Social environment important. Able to knowing the environment, where you are living, where you are working. This is important. Your intellectual abilities are good, but where are you working? What is your position? You have to understand that too. Over dependence on your intellectual abilities makes you create some problem. Hence, the role of a counselor is to make them understand where they are not able to focus on the environment, knowing on the if they do not know the environment, they will make them to understand their environment. Like that, if they are not focusing on their health, only intellectual abilities, they are focused to do some role playing, like that psychodrama, empty chair. So many techniques were developed by Gestalt psychologists to make them to aware about the importance of wholeness, total, healthy, unified whole. Yourself into, we try to make the self into healthy, unified whole. You need not be, you need not expertise in everything, but you should have a healthy, unified whole. That is important for Gestalt psychologists. Coming to the other thing is, this is also cognitive psychology. Rational emotive therapy is another thing. Is uh, this rational emotive therapy? This was given here. The rational emotive therapy will come. It comes under cognitive therapy. There is one more unit where the cognitive theories are being stressed. We will come across with the cognitive theories where you can understand what is rational emotive therapy. So the assumption for rational emotive therapy is all are born with rational as well as irrational thinking. Everybody is having rational thinking as well as irrational thinking. So the counselor role is to remove the irrational thinking which are creating problems to them and correct their thinking process. This thinking process is basically is the assumption of cognitive psychologists who will come about the cognitive type of counseling in the next unit. Next unit, we are next book we are able to understand about the cognitive psychology. So this is about the thing, and the last thing was given in the first paper is about the ethics. Ethics of the ethics means these are the rules. Ethics are the rules given for all the professionals. Only professional ethics are there. Each profession has developed their own ethics by their experts in that particular field. So for that, as a psychology, counseling is a profession. Profession means where our activities has a direct impact on the individual. Those are only called as professions. Like teaching is a profession, counseling is a profession, where our activities as direct actions has direct impact on individuals. Whereas a clerical profession is clerical, the thing is not, job is not called as a profession. Teaching is a profession, whereas medicine is a profession, law is a profession. So these are the professional ethics. Every field develops its own professional ethics for conducting and for maintaining the um, ethical principles of the particular field. Like that, the medical profession has developed the medical ethics are there, legal ethics are there. For teachers, there are ethics, and for similarly for counselors also there are ethical conditions. In India, RCI has given certain principles of ethics, and also there are American Counseling Association has given standards of ethics. Whatever the principles and standards are the things which you have to maintain, and the principles are the things which they are indirect and we have to follow all through your counseling process, like honesty, integrity, confidentiality, and conflict of interest, sustainable development should be your goal. Always development should be your goal. So these are given by RCA, Rehabilitation Council of India has given. These are the principles which should be there behind our counseling, whatever activity you are doing. And you should have certain APA has given, American Psychological Association, which is a standard, which has given certain ethics. So how do you maintain the confidentiality, counseling? These are the standards you have to follow without any question. Like you have to improve yourself, research and publication, uh, technology and social media, resolving ethical issues, professional responsibility, and a relationship with the client or other professionals. Also, you have to maintain the relationship with other professionals also. And all of you try to do research and encourage, develop the particular field. So, like that, the American Psychological Association has given certain standards. American Counseling Association also given certain standards for doing the counseling. So these are the standards. So you should have competence. Without competence, you are not supposed to do counseling. Suppose if you think I am having certain problems, that's why I joined in psychology and I want to do counseling. You are not supposed to do. If you are suffering with something, you are not supposed to do counseling. You have to maintain a balanced mindset for doing counseling. You should be balanced. That's why it is losing its credibility in the society. Because I am having certain problems, I want to join in the course and I want to do counseling. You can't do that. It is not an experience thing. It is not an experience thing. You have to develop the balanced mindset, and you should be able to understand your impact on other person. All this, if you know, then only you are supposed to do counseling. So these are the other things. This is about all the ethical principles which were given for counseling. Then coming to the, now we are coming to the techniques of counseling. I told you already some of the things, but we will come across some of the techniques given. But this, we know some of the theories only. Other theories we will come across. So we know about the psychoanalysis and the humanistic theories. Two theories and Gestalt theory. Now we are coming to the psychoanalysis. After psychoanalysis, psychodynamic theory is also one of the theory which was developed. There are certain group of scientists who are contradicting his one master Freud for using excess use of sex and aggression and excess use of unconscious in counseling. They came out of his group and they started another group as Neo-Freudians. And these Neo-Freudian group has developed a certain theoretical basis. The only important thing what they all psychoanalysis and psychodynamic, they introduced psychodynamic theory. Both are same. Nothing is the concepts are same for psychoanalysis and psychodynamic. The only thing is psychoanalysis, they focused more on unconscious, sex, and aggression. So these neo-Freudians, they just removed those three aspects from counseling, and they also focused on past experiences. They focused on past experiences, but not on unconscious. So less emphasis on sex and aggression, and less emphasis on unconscious motive. So, and they developed that theory, psychodynamic theory. So coming to this, because of the psychodynamic theory, past relationships, they focus more on past relationships, which has an impact on the present behavior. So they also focused on past, but they have not focused on the unconscious or sex and aggression too much, like Freud. And the psychodynamic therapies are short therapies compared to psychoanalysis. Psychoanalysis is a long-term counseling therapy, whereas psychodynamic theories are short-term theories. So coming to the other important concepts. So now we have covered psychoanalysis. Psychodynamic theory is also same like psychoanalysis, but a little bit different. And Gestalt psychology we covered, humanistic psychology we covered. Now we are talking about the fifth important area which we follow is behavioristic psychology, behavioristic theories, behavioristic therapies, and behavioristic counseling. So in the behavioristic counseling, the main concept is yes, our relationships are whenever you want a break, you tell me, I will take a break. Let us do it later on. Okay. Shall we take a break at 11:30 for 5 minutes? Okay.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Mm.
Or 12 o'clock. When do you want a break?
11:30.
30.
11:30 or 12?
11:30 will take.
11:30.
For how much time? 5 minutes?
Yes, ma'am.
5 minutes.
5-10 minutes is okay.
5 to 10 minutes.
5 to 10 minutes. Okay.
Yeah, that should be fine. 5 to 10 minutes.
5 to 10 minutes. At
Yes, ma'am.
11:30, we'll take a break, 5 to 10 minutes, and we'll continue up to 1:30. No other
Okay,
break,
ma'am.
no second break.
Okay, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Otherwise, it is not possible to complete this. I'm focusing only on theories. Is it okay for you? Is it
Yes,
okay?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So now we are focusing on behavioristic counseling, behavioristic therapy. So the main assumption of this is the theory which was developed after psychoanalysis, and these people they focused more on two things. This behavioristic theory is given as SOR, stimulus response relationship. In between O is there, O is the individual or organism. S is stimulus and SR theory. It is also called as SR theory. O is also in between, O is there. So what is SR theory? Stimulus response. Their basic assumption is no behavior occurs without a reason. For all your behaviors, there is a reason. If you are doing something, there is a reason. Without reason, nobody will do anything. So the counseling is finding out the reason, and if the behavior is obstructing them, bringing about behavior modifications. This is the main role of counseling or the psychotherapy. What therapy? Behavioristic therapy. So this is one assumption. Stimulus and response means without any reason. Suppose you are not able to concentrate. There is a reason. You are not able to. This is more scientific way. In all scientific, if something happened, you will find that there is a reason. Without reason, nothing happens. So a cyclone occurred, there is a reason. Cancer occurred, there is a reason. Because AIDS, there is a reason. For everything, there is a reason. So here, what they said is stimulus gives a response is one assumption of the behavioristic theory. The second assumption of behavioristic theories is except instincts, everything is learned. Except instincts, everything is learned. So your behavior is because of your learning process. Instinctual process, of course, they will continue like species specific behaviors are there. Like that, for human being, there is a specific behaviors which are common. Similarly, for paternal love, maternal love, all these are the species specific behaviors. Like that, for animals, for dogs, there is some specific behavior. For lions, there is some other specific behavior. Human beings, there is some other behavior. So, except these instinctual behavior, everything is learned. Why you are having problems with your behavior is because you have not learned the things which are required for life. Hence, you are getting problems. You don't know how to solve. You have learned the things. Second thing, you have learned the things to solve your problems. You have learned things, but in an inappropriate way. You have learned to communicate, but wherever you talk with somebody, you are getting problems. That means your communication is inappropriate, not the person's. Your communication is important, inappropriate. Hence, what you have to say is in behavioristic psychology, learning was given lot of importance, and you have to the problems are occurring because not learning the things which are required for life. This is one. Hence, you want to resolve the problem. What you have to do? You have to make the person to learn the things. This is social learning skills were given as one of the techniques by behavioristic psychology. Right. Hence, this is one thing. So, if they learned in an inappropriate way, you have to make them correct the behavior. Correct the behavior. So, that is another technique. For that, another techniques they use. This is the basic assumptions of. And third assumption is that behavior is always, we develop the behavior based on your reinforcement in the society. Reinforcement means rewarding and punishment. Whatever the behaviors are rewarded, we learn the same behavior. We try to learn the same behaviors. Whatever behaviors are being not accepted in the society, we don't try to follow that. So this is a basic procedure. If there are any problems in all these areas, reinforcement, positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement, has an impact on our, again, would develops lot of problems. So reinforcement and learning, reinforcement, correcting the learning, all these are the important things which are being given as the concept of behavioristic psychology. So based on his, I think you are clear about behavioristic psychology. It is SOR relations, except so without any reason, nothing will happen. There must be some reason. The behavioristic role is to find the reason and correct the behavior. And the second assumption is everything is learned. We are getting behavioral problems for not learning the things which are required for life is one thing. And second thing is we have learned, but inappropriate learning is another problem for our problem. Hence, you have to um, we have to use certain techniques for learning. And also another important thing is the learning process starts with birth and ends with death. So every stage there is a need for learning. So every stage, if you are not able to need, you don't need the things which are required in the childhood, in the learning stage, it has a problem in the next stage. You don't learn the behaviors of at the adulthood, it has a problem in the next stage. So every stage there are certain behaviors which you have to learn, which we have to learn. You don't learn the behaviors at that particular stage, it has an impact on the next stage too. Even in the elderly aged people, they have to learn certain behaviors to adapt themselves to the situation. Everything is adjustment and adaptation. More you adapt, more you adjust without losing your personal self-esteem and self-esteem and self-confidence. Then it is that is the goal of our life. Okay. So this is the behavioristic theory. So based on this, they have developed certain techniques. Based on this, there are two important learning techniques which were focused for developing this technique. One is classical conditioning, second conditioning techniques. Second one is operant conditioning. Classical conditioning is where you will learn by associating two stimuli or two stimuli together. We will associate and we will learn the behavior. This is the basic thing about classical conditioning. Association, this is association technique. So where they used the systematic desensitization for different types of problems they use on it. What is systematic desensitization? Means suppose classical conditioning, because this is used for phobias. Because you have developed a behavior that is a phobia towards something, towards darkness. This is a phobia you developed. You have learned that also you have learned. How do you unlearn that? So you have developed emotion and darkness. There is an attachment. You have to remove that, desensitize these two, separate these two. So in this desensitization, what you do, because you developed a phobia towards darkness, systematic desensitization, we don't flood you. Slowly, gradually, we will desensitize you. The first level, what do? We will develop a hierarchical construction. In the desensitization, we make a hierarchical. Suppose you are afraid of darkness, we will in the during night we will take you into a room and we will switch on the light for and suddenly we will switch off the light for 30 seconds and again we will switch on the light. Means you are able to stay in dark for 30 seconds. Then next time I will gradually, next time I will make you 1 minute, I will switch off the light. You will be in the dark. And after that, I will make you to switch off the light for 2 minutes and then switch on. Like that, gradually, I will make you to stay in the dark for longer periods. Then when you stay in the time period, in that particular situation for a longer time, you will be desensitized. You are sensitive to the darkness. Now I am desensitizing you for the systematic desensitization. What I am doing to this method. This is one of the techniques used in classical learning, classical conditioning learning. Suppose you will expose you, then the behavior extends. Exposure. So you are totally exposed to that. Exposure may be realistic or sometimes we use virtual exposures too. We will expose to the phobic situation. If you are exposed for a longer time in that, you will usually this is another method. Exposure. If you expose it, the behavior will extinct. If you are always in the condition, then the behavior for which you are sensitized will be vanished. So this another technique is exposure technique, and third thing is aversion technique. In the exposure technique, sometimes I will tell you not virtual technologies. In the exposure technique, sometimes you are afraid of high places. So I will give you a ladder and make you to go up and stand on the uh, roof of a house. That's the high place which you are afraid of. Slowly, I will make you, and after reaching the top, I will remove this ladder. So you have to stay there. This is an exposure I have given you. In this exposure, if you stay for longer times, then you will be desensitized for that particular system. So this is an exposure. If you are exposed, so till then you are afraid of that. If you are totally exposed, so nothing will happen. So slowly you will adapt to the situation. So this is another because you develop again the association between these two stimuli. Then there is also aversion therapy. In the aversion therapy, what we do is we will do negative reinforcement. You will get aversion. Usually, this aversion therapy is used in alcoholic for the de-addiction counseling, de-addiction therapy. If you are habituated for that, you will de-addict you. You will de-addict you by exposing it for longer times to that. Exposing to the aversion to negative stimuli. So this is aversion therapy. And then in all this, we'll make the individual to relax first, then expose. Relaxation is the base for the systematic desensitization, exposure, or aversion. Then coming to the negative operant conditioning, where you will do, if you do something, you will get reinforcement. Apparent, if you have to do certain operations, certain activity in this, here we'll give positive reinforcement so that the activity will continue. Whatever, if you want to teach something, if you want to teach a good communication, whenever the person says thanks or good communication, they will get a positive response from the other person. This gives positive reinforcement. So through positive reinforcement, we will develop certain of the behaviors. Sometimes you use modeling also. You will show them a model and ask them to imitate. So imitation is the action which they have to do. They have to look at the model, find the things what they have to do, and they have to imitate. And imitation is the process which they have to use. They have to do imitation. This is imitation. And another thing is flooding is also done in operational condition. Flooding means suddenly the individual is exposed to the situation. Then it's like flooding. It is not exposure like systematic. Exposure is a systematic procedure where we expose 1 minute, 2 minutes. Hierarchy we will follow. Whereas in flooding, what you do is we'll just throw them into the situation. Sometimes it may not be always successful. Sometimes it is successful. So because there is no other go, they will get adapted. That is one way. Sometimes in flooding, the person may sometimes get heart attacks too. We can't say that. We'll throw them to that particular situation. That is called as flooding. This is the action we will do. So modeling and then assertiveness training is also one of the training which we use in behavioral modification and social skill training. What is assertiveness training is expressing honestly whatever you are feeling, your feelings in a comfortably without denying the rights of others. So you said you want a break at 11:30. I said it is 12. You said it is 11:30. This is expression of your honest feelings comfortably without denying the rights of others. You didn't say anything negatively towards me, but you said well, you want a break at 11:30 instead of 12. So this is called an assertiveness training, not accepting. You didn't accept me at 12, but still you expressed it in a smooth way. Your honest feelings are expressed in a comfortable way without denying the rights of other person. This is called as assertiveness training. So being assertive is very, very important. So these two other words which are associated with this are assertiveness, submissiveness. What if better I don't like, honestly I don't like, but I will submit to those orders. This is called as submission. Over submission leads to so many disorders. Submissiveness is being sometimes reinforced in our society. That's why we learn that. Why women learn submissiveness in our society? Because that behavior is reinforced. People used to say the person who is submissive as the good girl concept. Because people want to be accepted by the society. Everybody says so and so is very good girl. He's a submissive, he don't react, he don't contradict, he just accept whatever it says. So good girl concept and that is a positive reinforcement. So we will learn that behavior, submissive behavior, which creates sometimes which creates lot of problems at workplace or at home. So then we will go to systematically desensitize to that. You learn submissiveness. Submissiveness. Other thing is dominance. I am expressing myself without concern, without any concern about others' feeling. I'm dominant. I can get the things done presently, but I may not be able to continue the relationship. There is a negative impact too. So dominance and submissive are not good. What are the exact thing which is needed is assertiveness, where you have to express your honest feeling without hurting the rights of other person. So this type of training you have to give. So because you get problems because of two things. One is dominance, second is submission. So you have to overcome them by being assertive without hurting the feelings of others. You have to tell them about your honest feelings. Right. So this is about some of the procedures by using apparent condition. Then the third thing is what we use in behavioristic therapy. We teach them the social skill training. So if the problem is because of lack of communication skills and non-verbal behavior, communication skill training is being given by counselor. How to talk in a situation without hurting. What are the this is the communication. What are the words which you should not use? What are the words which you should use for expressing yourself? The voice modulation. All these are being taught to the social skill training, communication, interpersonal skills, some other social skills are being developed. Training is being given by behavioristic psychology. So I will, this is with this, we use mostly behavioristic techniques on most of the counseling, you go for behavioristic techniques. So without behavioristic techniques, we cannot counsel. So you learn about some of the things. There are two things: learning, conditioning learning, operant conditioning. In conditional learning, we use certain of the techniques like systematic desensitization, exposure, and aversion. Whereas in operant condition, we use positive reinforcement, modeling, flooding, assertiveness training, social skill training, and all the things we will do to modify for the behavior modification of the client. Behavior modification for the benefit of the client, we use this. This is about behavioristic therapy. All these are related to learning only. The base is learning. The base is learning. Then coming to the next approach is cognitive behavioral therapy. In cognitive, this is a cognitive behavioral therapy in which, so I'll complete at least one paper and then take a break. There are so many. Because this the other way, other topics I need not cover all these theories again. Cognitive behavioral therapy, you might be knowing about the, you studied cognitive psychology too, so there is nothing to say more about cognitive therapy. In cognitive therapy, cognition is being high, is the base core. Cognition is your thinking process. Higher mental process are responsible for your behavior. That's why we approach to address the higher mental processes in cognitive therapies. So, a cognitive activity affects our behavior, and desired behavior changes. You can bring about changes through changing our cognition. This is about, you might be knowing, cognition is thinking. Thinking includes perceptions, learning, memory, and also and your brain, capacity of your brain. That means hardware is the brain. So all these together will give you a cognition, your thinking. All these are behind this, your thinking. So cognitive psychology deals with the thinking. So behind that cognitive, these are the four areas: perceptions, learning, memory, and your brain. So if anything is wrong in any one of these things, you will get a problem. So if your brain is not functioning well, any defect in the brain leads to cognitive problems. Cognitive problems mean, cognition means a problem in your thinking. Thinking problem itself is, thinking is the core for behavior. If there is a problem in the core, that is in thinking, automatically your behavior changes. Think about thinking is first thing and then you behave. If there is a problem in the thinking, your behavior, you get a distorted behavior. Hence, in cognitive psychology, what we say is we address cognitions, higher mental abilities, and we will try to find out the reason from all these cognitions, which is responsible, whether it is because of your perceptions or whether it is because of lacking of your learning. Like learning means knowledge. Why you are thinking like that? Because the knowledge is the input for thinking. Learning is the, if you through learning you will get knowledge, and this is the input for your thinking. If you have a limited knowledge, your thinking is limited only. If you are having more knowledge, if your input is more, then your thinking process enhances and you can get so many solutions. So cognitive behavioral therapy, you find out the reasons for whether it is because of perception, because of learning, because of brain damage, or because of lack of memory. So for this, we use Beck is the person. There are two important persons in cognitive therapies who developed cognitive therapies. One is Beck, and another one is rational emotive therapy by Ellis. These are the two important persons. Coming to the Beck, what does he do? Beck, he has developed a depression scale. Depression scale. He said his assumption is, Beck's assumption is, cognitive activity affects behavior. This is what I told you. Cognitive activity means your perception, your learning, All this affects your behavior. And desired behavior uh, comes in decide you can bring about the desired behavior by changing the cognitions. So, and he developed the ABC model of this we will come across later about we will ABC model is described in this in a later process. And here in the he also developed a cognitive behavioral therapy also. Cognitive behavioral therapy, um, the main assumptions of cognitive behavioral therapy is that uh, they use certain techniques to bring about the changes. We'll come across later about the how this is the cognitive theory. Cognitive theory. So how these processes occurs, how the learning process occurs, how the language development occurs, how this memory occurs through process in the brain, and how the hardware brain is working. So based on this, they will develop the techniques. This is in cognitive behavioral therapy, not behavioral, cognitive therapy. Our basic role is to bring about changes in our cognitions. So this is about cognitive therapy and basic assumptions I told you, and CBT and Alice somewhere techniques will come across later. So here he has also given some of the therapies like these are the core important therapies. So we'll got psychoanalytical, behavioristic, gestalt, humanistic, and cognitive. These are the 5 therapies based on the 5 approaches you got. And you know the assumptions of psychoanalysis. Assumptions of behavioristic therapy is behavioristic therapy. What is the assumptions is learning, and I'm concluding this unit. Um, the basic assumptions of behavioristic therapy is learning, and based on that learning and SR relationships. And the third thing is about gestalt therapy, where the whole functioning of the individual is important. The assumption is when you are focusing on some of the areas, you are developing problems in the other of the area. So the counselor has to self-aware the people where he is not focusing. Like if you are focusing on intellectual abilities, we are getting problems in social area. So let us have a holistic one. Wholeness is important in Gestalt psychology. And coming to the cognitive psychology, cognitions are important. And these are the 5 basic areas. We will have theoretical backgrounds. All the counseling techniques are developed. And along with this, there is also some other techniques developed. One is drama and art therapy. There are relaxation techniques are there. Through drama and art, also we can bring about behavior modifications. Focus. It is also one of the cognitive techniques. Drama and art, where the thinking is being affected. Thinking is being affected. There is also one more important thing: solution focus. Along with this important theories, these are also based on cognition on solution focused therapy. The assumption is uh, here because this is a cognitive therapy. This is one of the method of cognitive therapy. So now this is very effectively used solution focused therapy because it requires only limited number of sessions, and you have to find out the cognitions which are blocking their thinking process and creating problems. So that is the main thing. In this, the effectiveness is temporarily blocked because of negative cognitions. So mainly focuses on the strengths and resiliences and previous solutions. Whatever he has solved some of the problems earlier, he will make them to recollect some of the problems he solved, and now also he is capable of solving his problem, but because of his cognitive blocks he is not able to solve that. So the main in solution focused therapy, what do is you want to find out the blocks of cognition of the client by himself. We don't give, the client has to understand his problem and get his solution by himself. In all counseling you don't get solutions for them. So in this process, what you do is you will make them to recollect their strengths, recollect their earlier solutions, how they have developed earlier for earlier problems, how he developed solutions. So if he is again recollecting about all these things, he will find some of identify the blocks which are hurdling to solve the present problem, and they will do that. So for this, they will take short time in this. The what is the technique is mapping the influence. So how the problems affect him, mapping. You have to map it earlier how he did it, and these are the three techniques they have. What is the severity of the problem which you had? You map the problem, you find out what are the things happened in that particular situation where you are able to solve the problem. And you have to map the present problem. After recollecting that, you have to map the present problem. And what are influencing for not able to get your solution, and how the problem affects him. What is the consequences you are experiencing? What are influencing and what are the consequences you are influencing? So the client is asked to map all this. To map all the things. This is a cognitive thinking you have to. They use worksheets for mapping all the things in cognitive therapy. And then the second thing is after mapping that, you have to scale it. What is the level? It is from 1 to 10. Where it lies, 1 being the least problematic, 10 being the highest problematic. So where to, what is the level they will get? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So they have to find out the level of the scale, the level of the problem. And the thirdly, so what is the better way of changing the, we use certain of the behavioral technique to change the, to get the solution, cognitive techniques to get the solution. So this is the procedure we use in by asking different questions in all cognitive therapies, cognitive counseling, use different types of questions to solve the problems. So with this, there are two more things in the 21 itself. 22, 23 are easy. 21 is the, because the basic thing which you have to understand the basics of everything. So shall I stop here and I will continue after that? Okay, we'll take a 5 minutes break and come back. Okay? Right? Are you here?
Yes,
Anyone of
yes.
you? Yes,
Yes.
are you here
Okay,
or
ma'am.
not?
Yes.
Okay, ma'am.
Yes, we are here.
We will come 11:50.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay.
Now it is 11:40.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am.
I'll come back by 11:40. Sorry, 11:50.
50. Okay, ma'am.
Hi, ma'am.
Hello?
Hello?
Audible?
Yes.
Hello? Hello?
Yes. Hello, you're audible. Hello?
Yes,
Not
madam.
audible?
Audible.
Yes,
Audible.
yes, ma'am. Ma'am, you're audible.
Audible.
You're audible, ma'am.
Hello?
Audible, ma'am.
Hello? Is it audible?
Audible, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes?
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am,
Yes.
you're audible.
We will start again. So
Yes,
we
ma'am,
want to
you're
finish it
audible.
up. Next two books, 22 and 23 are very easy if you understand this first unit. Okay? So that's why we can go through the second and third units, important things. So we have covered about so many things about the theoretical aspects and major theoretical aspects of psychology and counseling, what you are going to use. Now we are focusing on there are different types of counseling you will come across. I am not explaining all the types of counseling. Depending upon the counseling problem, we have to choose one of the areas. Whatever is the counseling, what you have to follow all the 5 steps: rapport building, problem description, then formulation of the case formulation, goal setting, and what is that intervention or action planning, and reviving this evaluation of the intervention. These are the steps for everything. So whatever is that, there is a different types for different things. There are different types of the names are given for different based on that particular area. You have the problems will occur and you have to counsel in that particular area. For example, HIV and AIDS counseling, where most of the counseling and guidance to be given for prevention of HIV and AIDS to awareness camps. And awareness and prevention is one of the goal of psychologists by using guidance techniques. So in counseling, what is the important thing in counseling? Guidance. And in counseling aspect, we will also guide them regarding many of the aspects, and also we will counsel not only the patient, by using different techniques. We not only guide counsel the patient, along with their family members also is to be counseled, because a lot of stigma exists due to this HIV and AIDS. I mean, they will have so many behavioral problems, so that, but based on that, you have to counsel all these things. This is one area where there is an opportunity for counseling HIV and AIDS. So even in government hospital, there are AIDS counselors are there working in the government hospitals. So they specialized in that counseling area. There is also another educational counseling and vocational counseling. The educational and vocational are interrelated. In educational counseling, we will come across many problems related to education, like learning problems, learning difficulties, memory, examination writing, understanding, all the thing, and concentration, all these thing areas. Along with, you will have in vocational, we will for vocational development also takes place along with the education. And here you should have attitude scales, value scales, and interest scales, and they will get some attitude because of their education too, and the environmental factors like peer group and family background. So based on all this, you have to counsel the educational counseling a special way. And in vocational counseling, most of the time you have to provide the information necessary, that is changing. Information providing is very important in vocational counseling, where you have to provide them the emerging opportunities of different fields. So this is important. You should be able to provide the information. That is important. The next thing is about child rights and child protection counseling is there. So you all of you might be knowing about the National Child Rights and Child Protection Commission is there, which is trying uh, to aware the people regarding the rights of the child, and they address that. There is a commission working everywhere throughout India, and also we have to protect the child. Protect the child. Protect means generalized gender sensitization, reducing female feticide are some of the problems they will come across. Child trafficking, and other thing is child sexual abuse, domestic violence on children. All these are addressed by this child protection. So, what is the role of the counseling? Is when the government is taking care of all these people, the vulnerable children are, you can also counsel the vulnerable children, child abused children, sexually abused children. They will have a lot of anxiety and other psychological disorder, and they reduced self-esteem. We have to address them. Similarly, there are vulnerable children for counseling are street children, and educating caregivers. The caregivers for these street children are there. For the child protection also, there are caregivers. We have to educate them about these processes of life skills, disability counseling. All this should be given. For this is one area of counseling. One is child rights and child protection. Another area is in addiction process and addiction and anxiety disorders also. We have to counsel the. So these are the different areas where the counseling services are used depending upon the problem. So that you can have then awareness regarding the, suppose if you want to become a AIDS counselor, you should have knowledge about AIDS and all the thing. Information is important. You can read out. Similarly, if you want to become a child protection, child guidance, child counselor for child protection area. So you should understand the rights of the children, and also you had to counsel the vulnerable children. Similarly, anxiety and addiction counseling. You know the procedure of addiction. You know the theory behind the what is addiction and how it develops and all that. Then only you can be able to count it. So similarly, there is oncology counseling is there. Now different emerging fields of counseling and number of emerging fields of counseling are coming up. These are only some of the areas which are already existing. Then this is also most of the problems you will come across in counseling are depression. You might be knowing about the mental disorders you studied. So depression is one of the major uh, disorder, emotional disorder, or majority. This research shows that majority of the people are suffering with either anxiety or depression. So the number of people who are suffering with these are increasing day by day. So what is depression? How do you identify? Depression is a low mood where the individual, it is a disorder of low mood. So where it is a unipolar disorder, you can say that there are 3 levels of depression you will come across: mild, moderate, and major depression. The symptoms of the mild depression are, where the counseling definitely works, are the symptoms of mild counseling, mild depression, where a client approaches and if he describes the problems like that, symptoms like that, then you can address them how you have to address them. The symptoms of a mild depressed person. Number one, the mild depressed person has, these are some of the physical problems and some psychological symptoms, and you will find some social symptoms. What are the physical symptoms they will come across? The first physical symptom they will come across is they used to um, have lot of problems, and they express body pains, fatigue, digestive problems, lack of sleep, and these are common problems. And body pains they express. Fatigue is the main symptom. They used to feel very tired all through, in spite of eating something, they used to feel tired. And low energy, they used to feel low energy, tired and low energy, digestive problems, sleep disturbances, and somato problems, means body pains they used to express. And this is the physical symptoms. Coming to the psychological symptoms, lot of irritation, not able to concentrate, and they used to feel aggressive. Now and then, most of the times they used to feel aggressive, irritability is there, And these are some of the psychological problems they used to have: lack of interest towards others, psychosocial problems. They want to live alone most of the time. So these are the some of the physical, psychological, and social problems. They lack interest. They lack interest in either in the social gatherings and in their day-to-day life activities too. So these are the symptoms. When the person exhibits these symptoms, but then the counseling activity will be conducted. This is usually, if these symptoms became severe, then the depression is called as moderate depression. In moderate is still severe, we call it as a severe depression, where in the severe depression drugs should be administered and the psychologist has no role. Only the psychiatrist can address those severe depressive patients with medication only. They used to go for antidepressants, other psychosurgeries, ECT, all these things they will do for where they completely lose contact with reality, and they will become more apathetic, and they completely lose their total day-to-day life is also disturbed because of the severe depression. Severe depression counseling has no role. Coming to the mild and moderate depression, if the mild depression is not treated, may become moderate and severe. So it should be addressed when it is mild, where through physical exercises, not medication is not necessary. You can use developing certain social skills, some activities, relaxation techniques. All this uh, makes them to can address by using some of the cognitive behavioral therapy is also being used for this mild depression. So this is about depression. You have to understand cognitive factors plays a major role. Hence, cognitive therapy is very useful for depressive patients. Then there are certain personality disorders, even in counseling. So you have to, in most of the counseling aspects, depression is associated. Hence, you have to address this depression and counsel them. Then coming to the why we are talking about all this is when the client approaches, these are some of the basic things you have to identify and do counseling. The next thing is personality disorders are there. In certain personality disorders, you should have an understanding of personality disorder. So these are the personality disorders. If this character is excess and hindering our growth or hindering our relationship, then only you have to address it. Otherwise, there is no need to address all these personality disorders. You might be having the mild personality disorders of this type, and if they are not hindering your life, you need not address them. Like that, I don't think that there is a need for explaining all these personality disorders. Like they are being divided into three clusters: A, B, C. A cluster has a paranoid disorder, where they are more suspicious. The personality itself is suspicious personality. They suspect everybody. They look at the people with suspicion. And there is a schizoid personality, where they are shying personalities. They don't want to develop social, they don't like to develop social relations or mingle with the social activities. Then schizotypal personality, where they want to mingle with the people, but they don't have the ability to mingle with others. They don't have the skills to mingle with others, but they very much wanted to be in the social group. So schizoid personality, you can also train them, as most of the personality traits are learned. You can address them, you can bring about changes by social skill learning of the behavioristic techniques. Then there are borderline personalities, where they don't have the emotional consistency. Their emotional behavior is not constant. Sometimes they love, sometimes they disregard the people. So they are shaky. They are unsure views about themselves, and they protect with they will have problems with relationships. They are moody, and this is they see look life as black and white, but life is not black and white. There is a gray area which they miss. The borderline personalities, and there is dependent personalities too. They are avoidant personalities and dependent personality. This comes under C group. So they can't do anything without the help of others. Dependency and avoidant personality, and so they will. All these are the different types of personalities. While counseling, you should also observe the type of personality, and you have to address it by doing this. There is also eating disorders, which I am not going to discuss, but you are going to get an exam questions in that. Eating, they are descriptive only. Bulimia, anorexia, and binge eating. These are the eating disorders. This is also mild disorders, but it has an impact on their behavior. What is bulimia means? Excess eating a lot of things to overcome their anxiety. To overcome their anxiety, they used to eat more. So develop, what is that, weight develop, and sometimes they used to become, they can't stop eating. So this is bulimia, and anorexia is, they are very conscious about their body, and they don't, they are worried about their shape and about their physique, and they stop eating in spite of the need. So they eat very less, and this later on, this anorexia may lead to so many. They are figure conscious, and they eat less, and later on they develop certain problems because of the lack of um, nutrients. And that particularly the anorexia is seen in adolescent age. And the binge eating is they cannot stop eating. They eat things and they will vomit of that. After that, they used to vomit. That is called as binge eating. Like that, so many eating disorders. You should have an understanding about all the mild psychological disorders which you studied in the second year of us in some of the papers. I think mild psychological mental disorders. You should have an understanding of that, so that you can identify, while counseling, you can identify the mental disorders. So this is about all the basic theories and types of counseling, and the major types of mental disorders which you will come across. Coming to the second paper, that is MPCE 22. This is a paper on assessment. While doing counseling, just like diagnostic tests in medicine, you should also assess before conducting counseling. So what are the assessment procedures you have to follow in counseling? In counseling, there are two terms you will come across. One is assessment, another one is testing. Assessment means it is a multiple methods of collecting information of in a systematic, all the information from a systematic procedure is called as assessment. Collecting information by using different methods of all the information of the client is called as assessment. There is a testing means we use a test, and test is a psychological test. Psychological test where we use the test and we will get the score and we will interpret it. That is called as a testing. Testing is not total and holistic, whereas assessment, in counseling you have to do the assessment, means you by using multiple methods, you have to collect the information which is required, diagnose to uh, use the. So that's why we have to use all the techniques to collect information. So in this, what is the process of assessment? What is the process? How do you do assessment? Suppose a client approaches you, and after in counseling, during the process of counseling, there is a need for assessment also. So you may get some because of the preliminary interview and case history, you will have some idea about the client, and then you have to assess that. So in the assessment process means you want to find out, use all the techniques. So in the assessment process, you have to formulate a goal. So because of your observations, you formulate a goal. These are the areas to be assessed. And then what are the tools I have to use? So if you think that it is a personality disorder, If you observe that it is as a personality disorder, what type of personality test I have to use? If you find it as a uh, eating disorder, so what are the other things which I have to do? So if you find it as an intellectual disability, what are the intelligence tests I have to use? So like that, you have to identify the tools, testing tools, and also you have to collect information. You have to collect data by using these tools and then interpret it, then formulating the information. This is the process of assessment. The process of assessment, first step is you have to formulate goals. What are the things I want to have? What to have a further information to establish my observations. So formulating a goal, then identifying the tools for that, and collecting data by using those tools and interpreting those results, and then formulating information. So all this is the things which you have to do in the process of assessment. Then coming to the methods, how do you collect? What are the methods you use for collecting information? So methods to use are, one is we use interview method. The preliminary interview is very important. We use interview method. In the interview means it is a, I will tell you basically, I will in a nutshell what is interview mean. Interview is a face-to-face interaction with a purpose. With a purpose, you are asking some questions and they are giving. Every conversation is not an interview. Interview means with a purpose, face-to-face conversation with a purpose. So that you will do. Sometimes in the counseling, you can there are three aspects important. The questions who are asked by them is a counselor, client is the person who is being interviewed, and what is the process you are using. So counselor, client, counselor, interviewer, client is the interviewee, and what the process used by the counselor is called counseling process. These three are the important aspects of interview. In this, how the counselor should develop the rapport. The first step is, unless you develop a rapport with the client, you cannot conduct the assessment. So the first step is you should be acceptable by the client. You have developed the rapport and relationship with the client. The second step is, after that, you have to, he is ready to take the test. The interviewer is ready to take the test, and then interview process. The interview process can be of two types. One is structured interview, or you can do unstructured interview. In structured interview, whatever the questions you want to ask the client are already prepared. You prepare the questions and you will ask the questions. That is called as a structured interview. You will ask only the questions which are prepared by you. Unstructured interview, you don't prepare anything. You just go on asking what till you get the information. That is called as unstructured interview. We can use a structured interview or unstructured interview. Sometimes in structured interview, you'll ask the questions of we prepared only. Sometimes we may not get the total information. In unstructured interview, you may influence the client. So it is also biased. Hence, we have to use a semi-structured interview. Semi-structured interview, so that we can use we prepare some of the questions, and when there is a need, we will add some of the things. So this is called as the interview process. This is one is the interview method we use. Second is observation method. This is the most important. Observation method. Your observations are very, very important. So if the counseling is, there are two types of observations. In observation, for observing the client during the process of counseling, sometimes you can use videos only with the consent of the client. Otherwise, you are not supposed to use. Sometimes you will record, but his physical, what is the non-verbal movements, his presentation, his speech, his thought process, all this to be analyzed. Hence, in the observation process is very, very important. We use the technique of nowadays, we are using CC cameras and recording the things with the consent of the patient, client. Then, sometimes you will conduct counseling in a naturalistic condition, and sometimes we conduct interview counseling observation in the counseling room itself. Sometimes naturalistic conditions also the counselor may observe the client. So these are the two areas where the his behavior in the natural condition is very, very, you will observe. Suppose we are counseling children for their social behavior. You can observe the child while playing with other children. This is a naturalistic observation. Sometimes we will ask some facilitating questions and we ask about their social behavior in the counseling room. That is a controlled, that is not a natural observation, but a controlled observation. So in both the ways we use for observation. So observation is very, very important. We should not miss the verbal, non-verbal information regarding the client. Then we will prepare the case study. We will study the case study is another method which is also used. Case study means we will gather all the information about the client and we will study that information, all the information about the case. Case means an individual, and we take information from him, from his parents, peers, teachers, depending upon whoever is a referred people by them. We will gather information and then we will counsel. This is a case study method. You can use case study method, you can use observation method, or you can use interview method. For assessment, we are using total assessment. We are using all the three methods. So this is about the process of assessment and the methods of assessment: interview, observation, and case study. These are the methods of observation. Then I told you about testing. Testing is part of, we can say that as assessment. Sometimes we use psychological tests. Psychological test, it is a standardized procedures. Only we are supposed to use standardized tests which are being published by the psychologists, psychology instrument manufacturer. The base of the test is being given by the universities by doing research. So that type of standard tests are only to be used in counseling. So there are different types of tests which are available. There are many ability tests, means intelligence tests are there. If you think that the child is having a problem in intelligence, we can use intelligence tests. Like there are standard progressive matrices is there. There are group intelligence tests are there. Performance tests are there. Post block design is there. Like that, many intelligence tests are there. Depending upon their norms, whatever is suitable and appropriate to the client, you can use intelligence tests. So I told you in the process itself, formulate goals. If your goal is, if you think that the ability is the problem, then you can go for intelligence test. If you think that the personality is the problem, you can go for their personality test. There are number of personality tests. Whatever the personality item you want to observe, go for the related personality test. Sometimes we use interest tests also in guidance, in vocational guidance. You can go for interest test. And so always you use the tests which are having the norms. Every test which is published will have norms, standardization, standardized. The test was used on thousands of people and the scores are standardized. And then it has standardization, norms, reliability, and validity. These four are important. You can use the test. Before using the test, find out whether all the four are there for those tests or not. All the published tests will have all these four. So you can use only that type of tests depending upon the case. so that you can complete the assessment process. So this is about assessment and what are the prerequisites for assessment? The next question is, if I want to do assessment, what are the prerequisites? The first prerequisite is whether is there a need for assessment or not? Is there a need for testing? Or the preliminary assessment itself is enough? Or we need a special need for, don't go for testing and all the assessment procedures for every counseling activity. If you find if there is a need, then only go for a test. Otherwise, you need not go for a test. So this is prerequisite of assessment is whether there is a need for assessment or not, or the basic assessment itself is enough. If you go to a doctor with my temperature, mild cold and cough, the earlier doctors used to say there is no need for assessment of all the things, because this is a seasonal, I will give this medicine. So that's why similarly, if they come for some of the minimum simple where there is no need for assessment, the problems like that, you need not go for assessment. You have to judge, you have to think whether the assessment is needed or not. This is the first step. Then you have to choose the appropriate test. This is important. Based on the age norm, standardization, all the things should be kept in your mind while selecting a test. Whether it is every test is being standardized with the norms. This test can be used only for rural people. They used to say whether this test is only for urban. This is for children, this is for adult, this is for male, this is for female. Like that, they will give you the norms. Based on this, you have to choose the appropriate test depending upon the time, age, and condition of the individual. Then, suitability is appropriate test to be used. This test should consist of reliability, validity, and standardization and norms. So based on standardization and norms, we will choose a test, and reliability and validity should also be established for that test. Then later after that, you have to, very important thing is you have to take the consent of the person. Without the consent, you are not supposed to use any test. Please keep it in your mind. People used to do, not for fun, you are not supposed to use the test. It is unless there is a need. Unless there is a need, you are not supposed to use a test. And also, a more important thing is confidentiality. You are not supposed to reveal the results of that particular test to everybody. If it is a personality test or whatever is that. So these tests must be used only with purpose. So this is the prerequisites of conducting the test. You have to use, unless there is a need, you are not supposed to use. And other thing is appropriate test you have to use, and you have to take the consent, and you have to make you have to maintain the confidentiality. These are important things while doing assessment. While doing assessment, important things. Then how do you conduct a test, assessment test? What is the atmosphere needed for conducting a test? This is also very important. The climate, what is the climate or the surroundings needed for conducting a test? So this is only we are applying this assessment during the counseling process. The first level of rapport building is important for conducting a test. Without rapport building, we are not supposed to use a test. First level should be active, and you should have act, whether the responses and the reaction of the client is very important. So active listening and communication and empathy, you have to understand the mindset of the person to take the test. This is important. The mindset of the person to take the test. So this is, and you have to develop a consent and a congenial atmosphere after developing rapport for conducting the test. Haphazardly, you are not supposed to give a test to the person. It has an impact. This behavior has an impact. In the beginning itself, I told you, whatever the behavior, the counsel, think about what is its impact on the counselor. Then coming to the um, assessment aspects, what do you use? What are the things which you use in assessment aspects? The first thing what you take is you will conduct, you will take case history. So I think that is there in your book, how to take case history. Case history is very, very important. Case history means you have to, there is a pro forma for case history for doing taking counseling. All the internship what you are doing is taking the case history means you will take the age, biological conditions, net of birth and all the information, and also his educational qualification, his family background, his health conditions, and regarding this problem, and regarding his relationship, everything whatnot, you will take case history, and uh, and any other health issues the person is having earlier, all these things to be taken care of, and you should take the case history. After that, so you have to conduct the interview. By case history, you will get some information and assessment. By interview, you will get some other. You will ask the questions based on the, after getting this information, you will have certain idea regarding this problem. So based on that, you have to ask certain questions and you have to conduct the interview. So then you can understand the deficiencies of the individual by these two, case history and interview. Still, if you want to have the more clarity about the case, then you will conduct test. And all this process together total is called as assessment. So you will assess. So sometimes if needed, you go for mental ability tests or personality tests or aptitude tests. Based on that, you will, this is the total assessment. So giving the case history, first taking the case history, you will have some idea. This will be done only after rapport building. After rapport building, you will take the case history, you will take the conduct the interview, and by that you will have some clarity. And third level, you will conduct the test if needed to have more clarity about the client. Then you will assess it. Then coming to the various approaches in assessment. So what are the approaches we use is interview is one I told you already, is assessment, interview method, and also these are the three important tests. Case history we will take, and then psychological tests, and this is the total assessment we will use. Later on, in each of the approach we use different methods. For example, in case history, we also do mental status examination. The mental status examination means about his presentation, about his behavior, you will observe, and about his thought process. You can have some preliminary view in the mental status examination only. We are not conducting, we are observing them and getting the, this is the observation method we use here. After case history, we use this observation method for mental status examination. His non-verbal behaviors are being identified, and how he is his speech, whether it is a continuous or is break, what is the pitch of his voice, whether his voice is confident or weak or sad. So you can find, and also your perceptions about his interview. You should get all the information in the process of case history and interview. And after that, we use the test, valid tests which are needed. Don't think for every counseling a test is needed. Whenever there is a need, you can take the consent of the person, and with the confidence, you conduct the test. Then in the psychoanalysis method, psychoanalysis, in counseling, in psychoanalysis, I told you about Freud. These are the Freudian theory of psychology, where they used to say psychoanalytical. There are certain disciples of Freud who came out of him because they are not accepting or not accepting the theories of their master. They came out. They started neo-Freudism about them, and they started psychodynamic theories. They said they call it as psychodynamic theories. Among them, Jung is one of the important, Jung. Jung is one of the important, who has given importance, who has postulated two things, extrovert and introvert. And he said extrovert is a person who is more sociable. He wanted to have more social relations and express himself, his thoughts outside and all the things. Introvert is a person who do not who do not want to have social relation, and who do not enjoy or the social. He wants to stay alone, and he was a thinker, and most of the time he don't express his ideas or used to others. So this is one of the neo-Freudian Jung's views. There is also another person, neo-Freudian. He has also given uh, archetypes. The Jung only he has given archetypes: collective unconscious and individual unconscious. Conscious, collective unconscious and individual conscious. Collective unconscious means as per Jung. So you have to think about the psychodynamic theory. Who in psychodynamic theory have not they follow all the principles of Freud psychoanalysis, but they didn't focus much on unconscious is one thing. They focused on extroversion and introversion, another thing. And also they focused on collective unconscious and individual conscious. Collective unconscious means it is biologically based, what you inherit from your ancestors. So genetical, biological is a collective unconscious. We don't know what we inherited from our. That's why they called it as collective unconscious. And individual conscious is, what is individual conscious? All our memories are individual conscious and childhood experiences. So they have taken the past experiences. This is a psychodynamic theory. One more theory is also added, that is Adler's individual psychology. He used some. He is also Adler is also one of the neo-Freudian. Adler is also neo-Freudian, but he developed individual psychology. What he said, inferiority, superiority feelings, and some social interests, and all these are the basic concept the individual gets. Every individual has unique things of inferiority, superiority feelings, and social interests, and also some these are the basic concepts. So every individual is having these basic concepts. Based on this, you have to counsel it. So this is the assumptions of psychodynamic theory, which we have not discussed earlier. Jung and Adler, these two are neo-Freudians. Adler's individual psychology, and Jung's what is that extrovert introversion, concept of extroversion introversion, and collective unconscious and individual conscious. So they focused on that. Based on that, they have developed certain counseling methods, exploring individual dynamics. So hence, don't go for that past experiences or all the things. Explore individual dynamics. What are the dynamics? What are the behaviors? Dynamics means movements. What are the personality and dynamics the person is using? Individual dynamic. Explore individual dynamics. Dynamics means behaviors, and also explore self understanding of the behaviors by the individual. And thirdly, helping with reorientation. If there is any blocks or any deficiencies in that, you have to reorient that. This is about psychodynamic theory. Psychodynamic theory, they said that exploring individual dynamics. Every individual has their own dynamics of behavior and exploring self-understanding. They will have some understanding about their behavior. So based on that, we have to help them to reorient the behaviors of the individual. This is the psychodynamic approach of counseling, neo-Freudian's approach. So this is about thing. Another counseling assessment. So this is the way to assess. What are the three assessment techniques? Individual dynamics, self-understanding, and reorienting. This is the assessment procedures the psychodynamics use. Then what is the assessment techniques these cognitive psychologists use? One is Beck. Beck. How do they use the assessment? He focuses, Beck is a cognitive psychologist. We have to do cognitive reorientation. For that, he used a negative triad. Beck used a negative triad means three things. What is the first thing is pessimistic view of self and world and future. Three things. If the individual cognition thinking is pessimistic toward self, toward the world, and toward the future, then it leads to problems. Pessimistic view. So we have to identify these three. What is the view of the individual? And then, and also which leads to, because of all the three, leads to negative beliefs. And these negative beliefs leads to cognitive errors. And what is it? And the emotional disturbances. So you have to assess all these things. This is about Beck theory. What Beck used based on cognitive theory. Based on cognitive theory, Beck has given this three type of triad, and he said the Beck's theory, very important theory. You have to think, when you are counseling, you think about these three things. What are the pessimistic views he is having about you? I can't do anything. I'm always a failure. I'm always being insulted. I am always being inferiorly looked. All these are the negative feelings about self. The world is like that, about the world. And also my future is totally blocked. I don't get anything in future too. These are the three three beliefs which makes a person negative beliefs. These negative beliefs leads to emotional disturbances and cognitive errors and emotional disturbances. So this is about Beck, and there is also another cognitive psychologist, Albert Ellis has given three-factor theory A, B, C, D, E. For counseling, you have to think what is the active. A is activating event. What is the activating event which has created this problem? And B, what is the belief system which created this? Events happens to many, but the belief system makes them to understand the event in one way or other way. So what is the belief? What is the consequence? And what is the discussion and debate takes place? Because it is a cognitive approach, thinking is taking place. Lot of discussion and debate works on their consequences of their beliefs. And then we use effects of intervention. Then we use certain interventions to bring about modifications in behavior. So these two are the cognitive ways of assessing people. So in each way, we assess in different ways. Then Rogers, what is Rogers? Is humanistic view. He has given two concepts. Humanistic view, Rogers, he has given two concepts. While counseling, you have to think about the self-concept of the individual. What is the ideal self? My self-concept is what I am now. My ideal self-concept is what I want to be. If there is a gap between these two, it creates two psychological problems. So this is important about Rogers. Is there any gap between self-concept and ideal self? So if there is any gap, if the gap is more between the self-concept I'm having some idea about me. Now I am a teacher, and my ideal is to become a PM. There is a lot of gap between these two. It creates a lot of distortion and creates a lot of psychological problems. This is the main thing about Rogers. So client-centered therapy. You are focusing on the client. This is also called as person-centered therapy. So hence, by using all the humanistic approaches, unconditional regard, empathy, and respect, you have to bring about the gap between, lessen the gap between self-concept and ideal self by using appropriate questioning. Appropriate questioning is very, very important for the counselor. Appropriate question. Then, coming to the fully function person is the concept given by Roger. He said, fully functional person is open to experience and live in present and trustworthy and creative, and some other characters he has given. All these characters, so he is a fully functioning person. By counseling, you have to make a person fully functioning person. This is the goal you should have. As per Rogers therapy, you have to make a client fully personing, means open to experience and live in present. They have to live in present, and then trustworthy self. I have to worthy myself, self trustworthy, and then you should be creative. So this is a characteristics of genuineness, unconditional positive regard, empathy. All this we have to use, and we have to make the person like this. This is about Rogers therapy. And also one more thing technique is, there are narrative techniques which we use nowadays very well for counseling. Narrative techniques. So narrative techniques means, narration means storytelling, nothing more than that. So you will ask the person to tell about his problem like a story. We will listen the story. The client says all the negative things in his story. So because he approached us with a problem, so many negative things will be seen in his story. So we'll ask them to narrate a story. After that, we will ask you to reconstruct your story by the client with the positive inputs. Instead of negative inputs, we ask them to reconstruct your story with the positive inputs. And we will ask, this is one thing. And then, third level, we will ask the individual to narrate your story with your strengths. Narrate your story with your strengths. This is called as a narrative story, narrative therapy. Storytelling, it is nothing, a storytelling. First, he will narrate his own story with all negative things because he approached us for counseling. And the second level, what we say is, remove all these negative and add positive things, what will happen? So he tries to narrate the story with a positive way. Then third level, we will ask them to include your strengths and narrate the story. So by that, he will understand. This is also one of the cognitive techniques. He will, in all cognitive techniques, we use different methods to reorient themselves. This is about narrative therapy. And all these are the things which we use for counseling. So using different techniques. So in finally, I told you about the guidance programs which you have to do in how to organize a guidance program in schools or anywhere. Most of the times in school only we use guidance. In schools or for children we use guidance program. How to develop a guidance program. Counseling and guidance programs in the school. Suppose you are appointed as a counselor or a guidance and counseling counselor. What is the program? How you have to organize the program? The very first step is you have to develop a infrastructure for your counseling room. After that, you have to develop the guidance program for the entire school. The very first step of developing guidance program, I'm telling you about schools. guidance and counseling programs are being organized in schools only, or sometimes in industries too, but here I'm telling you about the schools. In guidance, and the very first step is, the purpose of guidance is to orient the children regarding their developmental tasks of that particular age. What are the developmental tasks which are present at the particular stage? Suppose for an elementary school child, learning the numbers, learning, adapting themselves to the school is a task. Adapting to the learning material, adapting with the peer, adapting with the rules of the school. All these are the challenges of the child. So, how to adapt themselves positively? This is the guidance which you have to give. Suppose you are guiding an adolescent child. His challenges are different. He wants to adapt himself to his biological changes, social expectations, academics, and also with the peer, and with also with the society, like that social media and all the things. His challenges are different. So every time, every stage, they are having certain challenges, and they are also having certain developmental tasks they have to fulfill. Like that, they have to learn, they have to develop their vocations, they have to develop their careers, all these with all the distraction. So you have to develop a continuously guide the child. At school, you have to develop a calendar like that. Usually, what this is called as guidance calendar. In the guidance calendar, we have to, first step is you have to structure a guidance committee in the school. Guidance committee, guidance and counseling committee, starting with the principal, important senior teachers, and also yourself as one of the members. And then you have to develop a guidance calendar. So what is happening is, in most of the schools and colleges, because they are not presenting the guidance calendar, all the counselors are being used as a what a substitute for the class where the teacher is absent. No, if you present yourself with a syllabus, the government has not given you the syllabus. The guidance calendar, you have to prepare yourself. So, what is the guidance calendar? What is the educational guidance you have to give regarding enhancing their memory, regarding concentration, improving their concentration, regarding classroom attention, classroom reading? All this you have to give guidance to them. These are guidance, not problems. Everybody needs this. Memory improving, all these are the guidance programs you have to give to the child. For that, you have to provide a guidance calendar. These are common educational guidance for all levels, but it is a depending upon the level, elementary school level or college level or high school level or the elementary level, you should develop a educational calendar, educational guidance. After that, you have to give career guidance to the high school and college students. What are the posts available? What are the tests you can do in common? Interest inventory you can do. You can do some of the tests, aptitude tests, and intelligence tests. And you can also find their level of intelligence and their interest, and you can guide them towards certain of the profession. If you after finding some of the interest, you can add them or train them on the skills needed for that particular profession. So all this can be done by the guidance workers, career guidance, and this is another area. So for social skills, development is also needed at all levels, like communication, interpersonal relations, and then preventing violence and substance abuse. This is one of the new area, and proper use of social media and love, friendship behaviors, learning to live. All these are the some of the aspects of the guidance. And in consultation with the teachers, you can understand the needs of the particular area children, and you can prepare a guidance calendar. That means what are the months from June to March? What are the activities you want to do to aware the people while orienting on all this? You may come across with some of the students having needed counseling, then you counsel them. So this type of organizing a guidance and counseling calendar is very, very important for a person who who joined as a guidance and counselor in the schools at present times, because most of the schools, either the principal, they do not know what is the role of a counselor, guidance and counselor. Hence, you have to show yourself. These are the things which I will do. This is my calendar. These are the activities I have to do. So, hence, this should be established by the counselor himself now at present in India where there is no. So, prepare students. The main purpose of this guidance calendar is preparing students for the future challenges by supporting their academic, career, personal, and social development and community participation. These are the goals, important goals of guidance, organizing a guidance calendar, and it teaches the skills for lifetime of learning and career self-management and self-interaction. These are also life skills should also be taught to the child to be guided, not taught. They should be guided by using different techniques. So this is the, and broaden the how to live. If they don't, because they don't have the skill to live in the world, most of these children, the suicidal rate is increasing. They don't know how to live in the world. So there is also need for guidance counselors to um, guide the children regarding the importance of life, how to live, how to live in the society with interactions, and how to adapt and manage yourself. So this is all the things what you have to do in 22. So you will, this is in paper 2, your assessment, and also the techniques you can use in some of the techniques we use, and also preparing the guidance calendar, organizing a, these are all the assessment. This also preparing a, organizing a guidance and counseling calendar for the students. Then comes to the last unit 23 is interventions in counseling. So intervention is a word which is used in psychology for some of the activities which are suggestions, action plan. For action plan, we are telling is actions. Interventions are the actions we are introducing to bring about behavior modifications. To bring, we have the activities which are introducing to bring about behavior modifications are called as interventions. So in psychodynamics, we told you so this also, what are the interventions we use for bringing about change? To make the individual to understand his past experiences and relationship. What is the basic concepts are in transformation and exchange of psychic energy within the personality. Psychodynamics, transformation of psychic energy. So these are the for transforming the psychic energy of the in the personality, exchange of psychic energy within the personality we use in psychodynamics. These concepts use human behavior and relationships are shaped by conscious and unconscious influences. Hence, psychodynamic counseling places more focus on past experiences in the development of current behavior. So, you will try to analyze the past experiences and bring about. Here, you can use some of the techniques which were developed. Past experiences, you are taking eclectic counseling, we do or mix all the things. Suppose you can take the past experiences of an individual, ask them to narrate a story. Storytelling also, you can use the narrative therapy also here to bring about behavior. In all interventions, our goal is to bring about behavior modifications. So this is through there, some of the techniques you can use to bring about changes in the behavior, like narrative or solution focus you can regarding their past experience. So this you have to connect and find out a method and to bring about behavior modifications. Then in the insight counseling, what is self-knowledge is important. This is a cognitive therapy. Insight counseling is a cognitive therapy where the self-knowledge understanding the significance and purpose of one's motives and behaviors, including the ability to recognize the inappropriateness and irrationality. We will find out the inappropriateness in our thought process, and also we have to recognize the inabilities. Inability to recognize the inappropriate behaviors is very important, and irrationality which is having in us. This is a cognitive therapy. You can use some of the techniques to bring about, to identify this inappropriateness, and by using cognitive techniques. Then there is a short-term therapy also, short-term interventions also used in counseling. In this, mutual goal-directedness, quickly we will do. This short-term therapies means this is a short-term. We will do it in 5 or 6 sessions. In first 2 sessions for assessment, we will do assessment by collecting information from all the sources. And then for develop insights, 1 session for developing insights. By getting after assessment, you can find the insights, and then we will develop a action plan, and then in 5 or 6 sessions, we will terminate the counseling process. So this brief time becomes it is important, and people are not having time to attend all these things. So brief time counseling process are now becoming very, very effective. So then interpersonal counseling, this we have not touched upon till now, because most of the counseling cases are related to interpersonal problems only. Hence the interpersonal counseling is a derivative from interpersonal therapy. Interpersonal counseling is derived from interpersonal therapy only. So it focuses on development of interpersonal skills. We don't have the interpersonal skills, we will develop problems in interpersonal area. And there are important things. Adapting ourselves to the interpersonal roles. They're having different roles in the family, in the workplace, wherever you are having. You have to adapt ourselves into the interpersonal roles and situations. And what are the current relationships? These are the things which you have to understand in interpersonal relations. Is it a role dispute, or is it a because of the situations the interpersonal conflicts occurred, or is it because of the lacking of interpersonal skills of the individual? You have to identify what is the current relationship. There may be problem in the current relationships. So the goal is rapid symptom reduction and improved social adjustment. Most of the things, social adjustment is very, very important. In this, first step is you have to develop a rapport as usual, and then rule out physical illness. If there is any physical illness, we can attribute it to, if they don't have physical illness and psychological illness, still they, most of the cases they don't have physical illness, they don't have psychiatric illness, still they have interpersonal problems. Then we have to rule out these two, and then the current interpersonal and social situations. We have to understand the current at present. What are the interpersonal roles and interpersonal situations? So identify the current stressors. What are the stressors you are having? Current stressors. Help the client to deal with the stressors and more positively, to deal with the stressors more positively. And you can give homework assignments, and we will terminate it. This is very important. Whether it is a role dispute or because of personality crash, lack of interpersonal skills. So, the IPT counselor is required a good communication skills. Hence, he needs a good communication skill and assertiveness skills too. Assertiveness skills and conflict resolution skills. So, these are the skills required in counseling. And why we use during this process of interpersonal counseling, we use psychoeducation also. We will educate the person. Psycho, that is called psychoeducation. And sometimes we use behavioral therapies, sometimes we use cognitive therapies, and also psychotherapies for interpersonal therapies. So, what are the reasons for most of the times you are getting these problems? What are the reasons for that? The first reason is unresolved grief. Sometimes the person is very sad, you will get lot of interpersonal problems. So this grief is unresolved. Unresolved grief, role disputes, and role transition, interpersonal deficits. These are the four important things. You have to identify. 70 to 80% is only problems related to interpersonal. First thing is unresolved grief, whether the client is having any unresolved grief or not. Second thing is having any role disputes or any role transition from adult to mother, mother to an employee. If the role transition also creates a lot of interpersonal problems from a housewife to an employee at the later age or middle age, which creates a lot of problems. Role transition, and also elderly people after that, after retirement, this is a role transition. And interpersonal deficits. I don't know. I don't have the skills and abilities of interpersonal abilities. Hence, there is a problem which is arising. So, these are the main problems in interpersonal therapies. You have to keep it. This is one of the important area because most of the counseling cases are regarding these interpersonal issues only. Is there any precipitating grief? Is there because of role conflicts or role transition or because of lack deficits of interpersonal skills? Deficit of interpersonal skills. So these are the four things you have to think about. So this is about the thing about interpersonal therapy. Then we are talking about the counseling of children. Counseling of children is there are so many disorders which occurs. You might be knowing you might have studied about the mental disorder. So many disorders occurs in childhood. These are called as developmental disorders. Learning deficits, difficulties, ADHD, mental retardation, autism, and sleep disorders. These are the common disorders which you will come across. For all these disorders, it is being identified that the play therapy works very well. So you cannot teach them cognitive therapies, you cannot use with the children. This is the play therapy because play is the important, what is this, component of their behavior, important basic component of their behavior in the childhood. You have to use play techniques to bring about change. If it is an adolescent, then you can bring about other methods of self-defeating behaviors and helping self-awareness, all the things you can use with the children. Play techniques are being used and they are very useful. Then coming to the behavior modifications, CBT. We are talking about CBT. CBT, cognitive behavior therapies. In cognitive behavior therapies, we are using the concepts of both the cognitive concept as well as behavioral concept. So behavior is learning, cognition is thinking. We are using both learning and thinking concepts. So, and we want to bring about behavior. The goal of counseling itself is bringing about behavior modification. So, in the behavior modification, what we do is we can teach them some of the techniques of we use systematic design as what I told you. Learning is being introduced in behavior. In cognitive techniques, cognitive is because of thinking, irrational thinking styles, overgeneralization. They will do this. These are the deficits of behavioral therapy. The deficit is learning. In cognitive therapy, they are thinking about the deficits of irrational thinking, overgeneralization, mental filters, disqualifying, the positive jumping into conclusions. These are the thinking. Some people, when you say a sentence, they will come into the conclusion. And magnification and minimization of emotional reasoning. Even for the smallest thing, their emotional reaction will be top. Some people, they don't react at all, for even for the bigger things. Emotional maximization and minimization, and should and must statements, labeling and mislabeling. So these are some of the cognitive errors. These are the cognitive errors. Those are the learning deficiencies. These two are responsible for our problems. Hence, in cognitive behavioral therapy, we will address both our thinking process as well as our learning process. So here uh, we use so many techniques for rational emotive therapy. We have covered all the desensitization, aversion, all the therapies we use. So we use CBT for this cognitive behavioral modification techniques. So in this we use self-instructional techniques too, like healthy self-talk. Talk about yourself. Healthy self-talk is one of the techniques we use. I will ask the client to talk positively about yourself. Healthy self-talk. Second is we use stress inoculation technique. In this, most of the people are developing problems because of stress. Because of stress. So we will introduce stress, just like vaccination. We will introduce stress to the individual at top, and we will ask them to address the stress inoculation training helps the person to fight against the stressors. It makes them to fight against the stressors. And stage one, we'll identify the stressors, and we will use the skill acquisition to overcome the stressors and to follow through. So these are the stress inoculation therapy, where we introduce stress and we will ask them to come out of that. Then coming to, we use the problem solving techniques too in CBT. CBT, stress inoculation, problem solving techniques, and also solution focused therapy. I told you. These are the drama therapy, art therapy, solution focused therapy, are all are the cognitive behavioral therapies. The narrative therapy. In this, what is the solution focused therapy? We will emphasize only on the solution. So for that, we will make the client ready for going back and identifying the areas where he has already solved the problems, and then he will address what are the strengths he used. Then now he is asked to solve this problem also with your earlier strength, and he was motivated to do that. He will he'll be able to do that. A positive goals and bringing the intense strength resources and external supports what they are having. Sometimes we are having external support, but we don't utilize them, and bringing about the social supports and experiencing the social support. Some people might be having the social support, but they don't experience it. So let them feel and experience the social support. So all these are the therapies we use. All these are the therapies we use uh, in as interventions. So other important interventions are couple counseling. This is the most commonly you will get at couple counseling. So it concentrate on helping the family members to obtain insight and resolve family origin conflicts, losses, distorted projections, and reconstructing the relationship, and uh, and making the and progressing the family growth. In the couple counseling, what we do. So what are the stages? Whatever they think which they said, we use eclectic therapy. Majority of the thing we don't go for psychoanalytic or cognitive or behavioristic or gestalt. We should have all this in our mind. Whenever there is a need, we use all the techniques together. So in this, what do you do? The very first step, whatever is that, you should have listened to them. Active listening is important. In couple counseling, basic, whatever the counseling, we should listen. In couple counseling, more focusedly, you have to listen. The active listening is important. Then you have to understand their past experiences. And then the action is on communication and use of, sometimes we use genograms also regarding family. You can identify the power relationship in the families. The family counseling, what we do is, the family is suffering with a problem. In the family counseling, we used to have the counseling. In family counseling, we have to, sometimes we have to counsel the family members individually, sometimes as a group also. So in this, we have to understand the family by understanding their power relationships, communication process, and also the personal defects. All this you will find out and you will do. Family counseling is also very important. And then coming to the group counseling is another area. We are having couple counseling, family counseling. You have to understand the family dynamics first. Family dynamics means where the power lies, who is heading the family, if it is an extended family, or a, and who is decision maker, who is the problem solver, who is the financials are with under whose control, is the dominating personality. All these dynamics of the family you have to understand first. You can get the information by individually in the by interviewing individual members in the family, and then having a group counseling, family counseling by understanding the entire family. This is about family counseling. Coming to the group counseling, we do not the family. In the group counseling, what you have to understand is the other, for some of the common problems, we go for group counseling, like addictions, like problems of psychoeducation, skill development programs. Like that, we will go for group counseling. The group counseling, what you have to do is, if it is a problem with the group, all the suppose we are doing a addiction counseling. In the addiction counseling, all of them are having the same problem, and the group should be, the size of the group is important. It should be basically 6 or 7 is ideal for group counseling. So because if they are from different backgrounds, you have to make an ice breaking activity to the group and introduce themselves, introduce themselves, ice breaking activity. And after that, you have to as a you the group counselor has to become a facilitator, and we will provide a group discussion opportunity by giving some of the instructions. And after the discussion, we have to monitor the entire discussion, what is going on. Some people may not participate. We will motivate the person to participate. Some may over dominate others. We are also reduce that. All these group activity should be monitored by a group counselor. After that, because the idea is that because they are having the same problem, by sharing their problem, they will get themselves some of the solution. With some solutions, they will come out. And after that session, they were asked to not one group session, and they are given some action plan by the counselor by sharing that. So this is used some of times. So for learning also, we go for group counseling. So coming to the last part of this, what are the 15 minutes I will count close. I'll give 5 minutes and give 10 minutes for interaction. Okay. So in this future directions of counseling, what is going to happen? So these are all the techniques which are using, and are different types of counseling I told you. So a number of ways and number of things and number of types of counseling. There are 6 or 7 major theories and assessment techniques, interventions techniques. What you have to use all these things in a scientific manner. Not such an easy thing at the counseling. People used to feel that counseling is a very easy activity. When somebody comes, with my experience, I can give some solution. This is not counseling at all. This is not at all called as a counseling. It is like prescribing anacin by me to a person who is suffering with headache. I'm not a doctor. Okay, I just prescribe. If he gets cured, then don't say that it is because of me. So happened. So, but then I'm not called as a doctor. Similarly, counseling is not such an easy process. We have to go through all this process. You should not, as per the ethics, you should not do any harm to the individual. This is the most important basic. You have to follow the ethics. The words influence a person more. So, what is the present status in India? India is just now we have started giving importance to the counseling activities. And there are a number of every state there is a bureau of what is that National Bureau of Career and Vocational Guidance are being established. Calcutta is the first university where they started this counseling center. Central Bureau of Educational and Vocational Guidance centers are there almost in all the states we are having. And now the counseling people are focusing on teaching and learning. So many of the university has introduced the counseling courses and teaching as well as learning of the concepts. And also these are the things which you have to keep it in your mind: the culture, background, socioeconomic strata, sex, and all the different things and ethics you should follow, and the psychoeducation too. So in India, the most important centers which are doing focusing on this is NIMHANS at Bangalore and NCERT. And now they have started uh, this is going to improve because of the teaching learning process. And RCA is using counseling for disabilities only, but this will be, we are going to get a more structured thing. At present, all the guidance and counseling people are being absorbed in majority of the school settings. So now coming to this, what is the future of this counseling? Then this is the last thing. We are going to get e-counseling. Digital technology is being introduced in counseling too. So in India, during the period of this COVID, lot of e-counseling techniques are being introduced. Telemanas, most of you might be knowing about this. This is one of the national uh, mental health awareness, mental health association, I think, like that, committee, national, with the headship of NIMHANS, they started tele-counseling. And at the 3 or 4 states first. Andhra is one of the states where the tele-counseling, and they are expanding to many of the districts where the counselor will do counseling through telephone. Telecounseling means telephonic counseling. They can come up, they will stay 24 hours by shifts, and they will address the problems of the uh, people. So this is telecounseling is there. And like that, we are using technology. And along with this, there are virtual counseling is also became very popular during COVID times. Virtual counseling. And other thing is we are using to research. Many digital apps are being developed for self self-administered apps, as well as counseling apps which can be used by counselors through e-counseling are also being developed at present. I think digital technology plays a major role in counseling in future because they can overcome the stigma. They will overcome the stigma, and there is a rapport building is easy in e-counseling, as many of the research is telling. So this is the future. Future is most with the digital technology and e-apps and e-counseling. So with this, I have covered, at glance, I covered all the 3 papers. I can say that. If you have any doubts or any interaction, you can ask for 10 minutes is for, we are on time. We are on time. We have covered all the 3. Superficially, I can say that, giving the outlines. So if you have any doubts, you can ask. Now, it is a time for interaction for 10 minutes, and after that we will close. So any doubts?
Ma'am, what is the vocational counselor?
Yes.
Vocational counselor.
Yes. If you
Hello?
don't have doubts, close.
Hello,
If you have any
ma'am.
doubt,
Hello?
yes, it is not audible. Somebody is speaking, but it is not audible.
Ma'am, can you tell me what is the vocational counselor?
Yes, it's not audible
Okay.
for me.
Am I audible, ma'am?
No,
Okay, maybe you can type Zarina.
right? I'm not
Ma'am,
able to hear. It's not audible.
but your voice is audible,
Please
ma'am.
louder.
Am I audible to you, Zarina?
Yes, 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 Sushmita.
Do one thing, just write in the message. Maybe
Okay,
ma'am will look
okay,
at.
okay, done.
Am I audible to you all?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not able to hear you. Why I don't
They are
know.
trying. They are trying to mention that in the chat box, madam.
Sir, shall we wind up the session? Or
Ms. Jarina is asking that what is vocational counselor?
I'm
Am
not
I audible?
getting anything. Shall we? Why I'm not able to hear?
Okay, madam. We will wind up. No question.
Okay.
Okay, madam. Okay.
Thank
Thank
you,
you very
ma'am.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you all. Thank you, ma'am.